Trek Geeks is proud to have Fansets as its presenting sponsor. Fansets is the place for amazing pin collectibles with over 200 officially licensed Star Trek pins and new releases every month. Stay tuned for a special discount code good on your next order at fansets.com just for Trek Geeks listeners. Fansets. Our pins have character.
This episode is also sponsored by Science Division, the makers of the world's first interactive tribble that you can control with your smartphone. Keep listening for a special Trek Geeks discount code when you adopt a new tribble at sciencediv.com. Science Division. Trouble's never been this fun.
Hi, this is Michelle Specht. I play Dr. Elise McKenna on Star Trek Continues. Oh my God, I'm totally fangirling right now because I just met Dan Davidson and Bill Smith of the Trek Geeks podcast. Oh my gosh, they are amazing.
From the Podfleet Command Time Travel Division, it's the biggest little show this side of the Alpha Quadrant, the flagship of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network. Greetings, one and all, and welcome to Trek Geeks. I'm your co-host, Bill Smith. We're so glad you're here. This is the flagship of the Star Trek Podcast Network for your fandom, and you are in the exact right place because fandom and Star Trek are what we are all about. And of course, by we, I do mean my illustrious co-host and I. Now, let me give you a little tip. If you're ever traveling with this individual, out of state, whatever, and you happen to be splitting a hotel room, opt for 2 rooms. That's all I'm going to say. He is the he's the very imitable Dan Davidson. Dan, Aaron Neville called. He's about to issue a cease and desist.
I'm glad you're explaining why you should get 2 rooms because that could have gone in a whole bunch of different directions.
I haven't really, though, if you think about it.
No, I was singing, people. I was singing. No, thanks for the intro, man. That was mostly pretty good. I appreciate that.
That is the best backhanded compliment you've ever given me.
Yeah, I liked it. I liked from the time travel offices. That's very good. More. We're going backwards in time.
I was going to say the Department of Temporal Investigations, but there's nothing to investigate here. We traveled in time. We loved it.
We did love it. It's gonna and now we get to allow our listeners to hear just how much we loved it as we finish up something that we started quite a while ago.
4.5 years ago.
Unbelievable.
So 4 years ago, we had our landmark 100th episode, A Journey to Futures Past, Part 1. It was an audio documentary of the first day of our trip to Kingsland, Georgia, and the sets of Star Trek Continues, when that fan film series was still actively in production.
Mm-hmm.
And we had always intended to produce Part 2, and we'll talk about why that didn't happen later on. But I look at this episode as we are righting a wrong that we committed and finally telling the other half of that trip.
Yeah, and I think it'll be great for everyone to hear all the different things that we did. And how can it really be righting a wrong when you're in it, Bill? Because it's always so right. So I'm just going to leave it like that.
What do you need?
You're
being nice to me. Usually it comes with an ask of some kind.
It's times like this when you're reflecting on things and we're going back in time to talk about this episode that you really appreciate what you got. So,
especially on days like these, I can't even give you crap for that.
Yeah, I know.
Wow. See, now you made me look like the big jerk I am.
Can I borrow? No.
Well, you know what you can borrow is the contact information to give to our dear listeners and how they can get in touch with us.
I'd love to do that. If you're looking to get in touch with us, you can head right on over to trekgeeks.com/contact, and you will find a multitude of ways to communicate with us. There is Skype chat, there's email, there's voicemail by way of that big blue button using SpeakPipe. Whatever way you want to contact us, just make it so, because we love hearing from you. Plus, there's also the most positive Star Trek group on Facebook. It's called Camp Kittimer. It is our official group, and it's where over 1,700, I almost said Hundy, gather to talk Trek. It's always positive, with no bashing or gatekeeping ever allowed. To join the group, just head on over to facebook.com/groups/Camp Kittimer and be ready to be part of a truly wonderful social experience. And as always, we want to thank our wonderful admins, Haley, Jackie, Sarah, and Dan, for the stellar job they do running the camp. But please remember that any comments or messages you leave us in any of these places may be used in a future episode, Bill.
Wow, I don't know how we got Arnold Schwarzenegger for this show, but man, what a get.
We're getting all kinds of great stars these days, so I figured, why not Arnold?
That is the best segue you have ever accomplished, because it takes us into our very special announcement that we released on YouTube and on social media just late last week. And that is that, Dan, you and I will be joined by Star Trek legend Jonathan Frakes, one night only, June 11th, live on Facebook and YouTube for a discussion to benefit Feeding America's COVID-19 Response Fund. Jonathan has agreed to do this because we're doing it just for charity. We're hoping to raise a whole bunch of money and feed a whole bunch of people, Dan.
Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing to me. You've talked about this on social media, and it still blows my mind that every dollar that is used for this charity, Feeding America, every dollar is 10 meals, if 10. I'm not mistaken.
10.
That's unbelievable to think of, that money is used in such a good way that it can help so many people. So we're going to have this conversation with Jonathan, and we're going to try to raise as much money as possible, because there are so many people suffering right now with the pandemic and being out of work and having to deal with family that they could be sick or they're scared, and everybody's isolated. This is our way that we can do something good for those people and help them. And if we can do just the slightest thing to help, I'm all for it. And to be able to have Jonathan Frakes join us to have a conversation to help raise that money is just going to be icing on the cake, brother.
It really is. This is a case where small donations, have huge impact. $1 is 10 meals. $5 is 50 meals. $10 is 100 meals. That's 100 people who will get a meal that they may not have gotten that day. Mm-hmm. And that's real impact. And that's what we're trying to do. This isn't about Trek Geeks. This isn't about Jonathan Frakes. This is about trying to do as much good as possible, because there are people out there who need it. And that's what this fandom is wired for. So please head on out to trekgeeks.com/donate. You can find out information. You can learn where you can view the live stream. You can actually donate to the campaign right now before the live stream. And we're already halfway past our first goal, which is just, I get broken up thinking about it.
It's amazing to me because, as I said a minute ago, so many people are going through very hard times right now. And yet people still feel that what is in their heart is more important. How they feel about others is more important about how the things are going on for themselves. And we're seeing donations come in already. And it really is something that makes you sit back and go, wow, there really is good in the world, when at times you don't think there's a chance that there's any good out there anywhere. So we are eternally grateful for everyone who has already donated. We look forward to having many more donations come in so that we can help these people. We are not going to see one single penny from this in any way, shape, or form. It's not going to come through us. It's going directly to that organization so that they can get those meals out to people.
Well, and that's a great point. I mean, Feeding America is going to directly benefit from this, which is amazing. This is a time that is incredibly uncertain. There are plenty of reports of food insecurity, and that's what we're trying to help with. So, more importantly, if you can't donate, if you are not in a position to donate right now, believe us, we understand that is 100% fine.
Yep.
Watch the live stream and enjoy yourself, because that's the other reason why we're doing this. There are plenty of folks out there who are not in the position to donate, and we get it. We don't want to put anybody under a greater burden. come and enjoy yourself. Enjoy the discussion because Jonathan is amazing. He is a great conversation, and we just want people to maybe get an hour or so away from everything going on.
Well, what have we always talked about here on the podcast? I know I did this. I know you did as a kid. Star Trek was our escape. And even as adults, it's our escape. So we're going to do it in a way that it's still Star Trek, and it can be that escape when things are tough right now with everything going on with the pandemic and the riots and everything like that. Have an hour with two idiots and Jonathan Frakes. What more fun could that be? And it's for a good cause.
That's right. So trekgeeks.com/donate. You can get all the information there. And, of course, if you have any questions, let us know. Dan, it's that time of the show that really has become not only a staple of Trek Geeks, but quite honestly, really one of our favorite moments each week. It's the time we get to talk about our wonderful friends over at Fansets, the whole gang, and yes, even Joe. I mean, you know, he does a great blog over at fansets.com each month, and we highly recommend you check it out for all the latest news in the world of Fansets.
Yeah, he really does a great job on that blog. Dare I say it's a Fansets-tastic blog. Anyway,
no.
Okay. He lets everybody know what's on tap for the month. And I got to say, man, the beginning of June really shaped up to be quite incredible. Earlier this month, the folks at Fansets released Season 3, Michael Burnham. I'm going to stop right there. You heard me right. The season of Discovery has not even started yet, but Fansets has you covered. She is ready to add to your cart right now, along with the sinister-looking Section 31, Philippa Georgiou. As always, these pins are of the highest quality and detail, and you will not be disappointed. But wait, there's more. And this one's freaking awesome, my friend. We all know what a huge success Season 1 of Picard was, and now you can have your very own Fenris Ranger calling card in the off chance that you need 7 of 9 to swoop in and save the day for you. It's beautiful, and I really got to say, Bill, that the logo pins that Fansets has been doing lately are just out of this world, no pun intended.
They really are, man. But what else would you expect from Fansets? They are the cream of the crop when it comes to Star Trek collectibles or any other genre for that matter. Oh, I don't know, like Batman 66. The initial launch of this great line of pins is coming very soon. And now you can see artwork for Batman, Robin, the Joker, the Riddler, Batgirl, the Penguin, and Catwoman over at Fansets Twitter and Facebook pages. These are just the first 7 of the 11 pins that are on the way. This is amazing. Plus, we announced last time on Trek Geeks, you can now order online gift certificates at fansets.com. And Dan, get this, they never expire. Like never, ever. And they have no processing fees whatsoever, so it's truly a win-win. So do yourself a favor. Go on over to fansets.com. After you check out the blog that Joe writes, put a bunch of pins and accessories or even gift certificates into your cart. And if you spend more than $30, you're going to get free shipping, of course. As an added bonus at checkout, just for listening to us two nerds have such a great conversation with Wyatt, enter the very special Trek Geeks discount code CHEKOV. That's CHEKOV in all capital letters for 15% off your entire order. This bonus code is going to be available to use until Wednesday, June 17th, 2020 at midnight Eastern Daylight Time.
Fansets. Our pins have character. And we thank our friends at Fansets for being the presenting sponsor of Trek Geeks.
Dan, we gather to right a wrong that has taken 4 years to do.
No.
And shame on us for allowing it to happen, but life kind of gets in the way sometimes. And then so does building a podcast network, and then so do multiple Star Trek series. But of course, I'm talking about the follow-up to our epic 100th episode.
That was a long time ago. That was 120 episodes ago. That's a lot. That's like over a century's worth of episodes, Bill. What took you so long?
I know, right?
No, you're right. We got really busy with stuff. Of course, Discovery started, and then Picard was announced, and Picard happened, and now Strange New Worlds are happening, and other podcasts came along, like Discovering Trek, and we started a network, and I moved, and I changed jobs, and so here we are.
I changed jobs in there too. I had a layoff.
Oh, that's right, you did, didn't you?
Yeah. All of that in the last 5 years, or last 4 years. Wow. And it's been a busy time. We started it with the best of intent. Our our 100th episode was landmark for us in so many ways. Not only was it a definite mile marker in our journey, but I mean, that was an episode that got us nominated as a finalist for a Parsec Award.
Yeah.
The response to it was incredible. But you know, that first half, as we keep referring to it, was day one of our trip to the sets of Star Trek Continues. And it was probably one of the best received episodes we've ever done. It's right up there with Trek 50 and some of the memorial episodes we've done. Mm-hmm. Invariably, people say, "Oh my God, I heard that episode 100, and it was amazing. It's one of the best episodes I've ever listened to." And it's hard to believe that was our high water mark. It just went right down from there.
Wow, like a water slide. Yeah, it's humbling is what it is. Seeing some of the comments and hearing some of the messages that listeners sent us after listening to the 100th episode really made both of us just sit back and go, wow. I mean, we've said it 1,000 times. We're just two guys talking about Star Trek, and we talk about our friendships and throw insults at each other for an hour a week and have fun with it. And people listen to it. And then we have a journey like this where it really meant a lot to both of us and quite literally changed our lives when you think about walking those corridors and standing on that bridge. And for people to give us the support for that episode the way that they have was really quite mind-blowing, to be honest.
Without a doubt. We were welcomed in as weary travelers, because we were, and immediately treated like people who've been there all along. And I think that was the kind of thing that came from the top down.
Yeah.
Not as a directive, but I think that's the mindset that occurred. We were all Star Trek fans in that building. We all had this thing that united us. And I think that really was what carried the day, quite honestly. So and let me back up. So part of the problem with trying to tell the second half of the story is we couldn't just ever dedicate the time to fully script it the way we wanted and the way it deserved to be done, like we did for the first episode. Mm-hmm. The first episode literally took us months to write.
It did. Absolutely. It's the first time and only time we've really actually ever done a scripted, so to speak, discussion on the show.
And we recorded it separately from the episodes we were doing every week at the time.
Right.
We'd each devote a little bit of time every week to recording our segments, and then I would get them and edit them together and, drop in the various audio pieces. And I have to say, we apologize to everyone involved with Star Trek Continues that we waited this long to tell the second half of the journey. Because what they did there in creating this fan film series was really quite magical.
It really was. I will say till my dying day, nothing holds a candle to Star Trek Continues for fan productions. And to be able to go down there, we're two guys, we had the conversations with Vic in Vegas about coming down. So he knew who we were because we hung out with him a little bit that first Vegas trip that I went to and played golf. But nobody else down there had any idea who we were. We could have been just two whack jobs coming in, and who knows what was going to happen when we get down there. And they were welcoming, and they made us part of their family, and they included us in everything. And it really was unbelievable to see not only how they welcomed us and treated us, but to see how they treat each other and how dedicated they are to the project and how much they love what they're doing for Star Trek and Star Trek Continues.
Absolutely. So some of the audio we're going to play for you today really is a snapshot in time from 4.5 years ago in those days on set. This was on day 2 of our visit there. They were actually shooting scenes for a different episode. So we had the benefit of seeing that. It was another day of bridge shooting, which was exciting for us because, instead of, doing quarter shots or whatever, we literally got to spend 2 days hanging out on the bridge, which was amazing. Mm-hmm. But what you're going to hear is what happened in and around shooting during that day. They are mostly conversations, and these conversations occurred in the space behind the engineering set where the guts of the shuttlecraft was.
Yes.
So if you watch Embracing the Winds, which is episode 7, the episode we were there for, there's a scene before the opening credits that takes place in the shuttlecraft. We're sitting literally right outside that shuttlecraft set.
And it's amazing while you're listening. You'll hear stuff going on in the background because there's like construction going on just over that way, and people walking by because it's right through a corridor where that shuttlecraft set is. So you will hear, and you won't see some things, obviously. You'll hear things going on around our conversations. But yeah, it was right near the shuttlecraft. It was cool. I wanted to sit in it.
And right behind engineering, too. I mean, that wall was literally right next to us. So here's how the day started, day 2. The previous night, as covered in episode 100, we had dinner with the cast and the crew, and we hit a bar afterwards, after dinner. Had a great time.
Absolutely.
You and I were beat from being up half the night because some idiot was doing Aaron Neville impersonations all night long.
I know, right? Who the hell
I want
would
to
do
find that guy.
Oh, give him a Grammy Award, baby.
No. On the way in, we didn't stop at the Cracker Barrel that we stopped at the first day. We decided to do something familiar. We saw a Dunkin' Donuts sign. We went in, and it literally was the worst Dunkin's in the world.
What has it been, 4.5 years since we were there? I still haven't gotten my order. Oh my God, that was so ridiculous. Because of course, you know me, and I'm like, oh my God, are we going to be late, Bill? We're going to be late. We're going to be late, Bill. Bill, we got to go. What's going on? Yeah, so just times that by 100 because we were there for like 7 hours, or at least that's what it felt like. This
is hashtag New Englander problems. Because only New Englanders complain about Dunkin's like that, and that's what we do. We did wind up being slightly early to the studio, and although we were excited to be there, speaking for myself, there was this tremendous sense of melancholy that I had the entire day because I knew it was our last day there. We're only going to be there for a handful of hours, and then that was it. Goodbye. We're on a plane back to New Hampshire.
Yeah, I got to say I felt the same way. And I'm also going to say this. I said it a moment ago. We had hung out with Vic in Vegas, and we had some great conversations with him, and he was there for that first day of the shoot. So I felt most comfortable around Vic because we were pretty much new for everybody else. Didn't know everybody else. Vic wasn't there for day 2. He had to go do something else. So he was not there. He didn't have any shoots scheduled that day.
Yep.
So I'm thinking to myself, all right, we're just going to be sitting in a corner and nobody's going to talk to us. And that was the furthest thing that happened. It was really amazing. We talked about the family aspect of this. And it's like we had been there for the 5 other episodes that they filmed before they did these 2. And it really was a great feeling.
It really was. So like we said, it was another day on the bridge set. This was episode 7 that was being shot that day, Embracing the Winds. James Kerwin was directing, our good friend James, who we love very much. He has a very different directing style from Julian Higgins, who was directing the day before. James is very focused and precise. He's still very loose and creative, but you can literally see him working things through in his head to the point where we knew immediately not to try to interrupt him or talk to him because when he's on set, he literally is working.
We actually thought that the day before, because while Julian was directing his scenes, James was in the back of the area where people were off camera, and he had his scripts and everything like that, and he was sitting there, just you could see the smoke coming out of his ears. I think him working on stuff, very serious and very focused on what he was doing. But I'll tell you, both great directors, and watching the different styles from each one was really fascinating.
It really was. So present on the bridge that day, among others, were Chris Doohan, playing Scotty, who was in command of the Enterprise at the time, Kim Stinger as Uhura, Wyatt Lenhart as Chekhov, Grant Imahara as Sulu, who wasn't shooting the scenes on the bridge that day, but he was still there to shoot some other stuff, Mary Zerwinski as Follett, Kat Roberts as Palmer, our good friend, first ever guest, Kat Roberts, and our dear, dear friend John Champion as Hadley, filling in for Sulu at the helm. And that made the whole day fun entirely.
Actually, what was more fun was that Hadley was in charge of the Enterprise, but he still couldn't sit in the captain's chair. Sorry, John.
I know. Yeah, it seems they were shooting later that day. Scotty was off on the landing party, and Hadley was in command, didn't get to sit in the captain's chair.
I will say one thing that I noticed of all the people that you just listed, the boots that Chris had on looked too big for him, and I thought he was going to like trip over him like every time he walked around. It was cool. And he was busy practicing his lines off on the side a lot too. So yeah, people are very, very focused on stuff during their shooting times.
Now I'd say the shoot day progressed fairly normally. There were a few breaks in the action, for things like lighting changes and camera setups and the whole nine, but there were no massive delays. They weren't waiting for anyone to arrive like they were the day before because Todd Habercorn's plane was late.
Right.
So they had to shoot around that, but it was a fairly normal shooting day, and we wound up having lunch with the cast again. And you and I decided to take the opportunity to wander the sets because they were quiet, they were empty, and they were dark.
And that's another aspect that I'm always going to be so grateful about is we're the guests here, but they treated us like we had been there. So we got to do anything we really wanted to. We had our little badges that we could walk around, and it wasn't a problem. So we got to do that. And, you've seen episodes where the power shut down on the Enterprise, so all the lights are off and it's dark. We were doing that. It was like the Mark of Gideon all over again. And it was just amazing. And I got to say, this is going to sound strange, but I hearken it back to, I've talked about how we go to the camp every summer on Lake Winnisquam. And whenever it's our last night, I'm very sad, and I stand out on the dock and I just look and think about how wonderful it is. And I was doing that while we were on these corridors and on the bridge when it wasn't lit up, because that's how strong and how emotional it was to be there.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. In a way, it was really kind of like a long goodbye, because we knew that hours later we were going to be on a plane. We weren't originally going to use this audio in the episode, but now, in listening to it, to review, to see to see what we were going to use, it seemed like the perfect thing to include in this particular episode. So this is the audio of Dan and I walking through the set at lunchtime and the things that we observe.
We're right now, Bill and I are standing in the corridor. It's a little, and look who just walked by.
Hey, Greg.
And it's a little,
don't worry about it.
It's a little surreal, isn't it?
It really is. I mean, we've seen these sets for decades.
Yeah.
I've been watching Star Trek for at least 45 years. Or maybe a little less. And there's a realism. I mean, yeah, it's a set. I mean, it's made of plywood and paint and decoration, but it's no less real than seeing it on television. And you walk down this corridor, and the first stop is essentially sick bay.
Sick bay.
And the medical office is not built out yet. But you walk into the room with the bio beds, and this was actually the first room we saw.
Right. We came in from the other side of the set.
And we were blown away.
Yep. The interesting thing is as we're sitting here, one of the things that James was telling, it was Julian was telling us, is one of his favorite shot scenes to do is from the end of the medical bay.
Yeah.
Because you're looking from sick bay into the doctor's office, out into the corridor, and then down the corridor. So you've got a very long stretch. And they could there's enough space here to build out McCoy's office.
Yeah.
If they ever wanted to do something with that.
As we stand here, you look at the walls, and they're a little bluer than you realize on TV.
Yep.
And the bio beds are perfect. The fabric is beautiful. And then you look at the yellow of the counters, and I never really noticed that detail before.
Yep.
And I always noticed the floor was green.
Yep.
But I never thought about it until being here. And this room actually looks bigger than I thought it would.
Yep. I believe this is the counter that Mabenga was doing his scans with the Borg nanoprobes in the last episode. Captain Kirk's Doritos are still sitting on the counter from where I put them yesterday.
He never ate those things.
They got a spare bio bed if they need 3.
It's evident that there's care and detail put into this. It's little details like the silhouettes of the bottles. And Dan's taking a picture of the fabric on the bio bed, which has protective sheets covering it, so that the fabric doesn't get damaged because it's special. I love the beer bottle in there. I think that's a nice touch, by the way.
I do like the beer bottle.
Yeah, I can see what Julian meant yesterday, because when you stand here
it's
and you're looking at the door, and you've got a clear shot across corridors. It's really a fantastic shot. Dan just ran in.
It's a long way. That's a long. I'm winded.
Well, imagine what I would be. Yeah, and then we progress back out into the corridor.
Yeah.
And then we walk across the way outside the transporter room. And I think the thing that I notice instantly about the transporter room is the door is about twice as wide.
Yep.
And then you come in here, and then there's a lavender color that the transporter room was in season 3.
I never realized the lavender color.
I didn't either, but as you go back and Google, it's like, well, yeah, absolutely it is.
Yep. They've got everything. We were in here yesterday, and the set pieces were kind of taken apart because they were doing some repairs on them. It looks like they fixed a couple up, so maybe possibly we'll see some transporter room scenes in the next episode. There still is nothing in the scanner. I do like how yesterday on the bridge, when Todd was working in his scanner as Spock, they put his lines in there.
Oh, that's kind of neat.
Yeah.
They've been working on replacing the backlit panels on the transporter console. Mm-hmm. So it's not screen ready right now.
Right.
But as I look at it, I look at the sliders, and the first thing I want to do is energize.
Yes. They were down before, so somebody has energized. One thing I didn't notice, I've never noticed before, is, has everybody noticed that the transporter pad is carpeted?
I noticed that in the original series, though.
I never know. It's never something that was like, oh my god, that's carpeting.
Yeah.
Now that we're seeing it, oh my god, that's carpeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't wanted to stand on the lenses of the transporter pad because I don't want them to break. I know they're special resin casts, or they were made specially, but it's really kind of cool.
It is.
I mean, we've stood on the little transporter they have in Vegas at the Creation Convention, and it obviously could not compare.
No.
Not even close.
I think of this as the real thing. Kind of, as I take pictures. But see, this is one of the things I noticed, and they probably fixed this for the actual shoot. I noticed it was carpet because you can see the little carpet phrase on the end of the circle right before you get on the steps.
Yeah.
It's not something I ever really thought of before.
Right.
Now I'm going to be looking at stuff every episode. Oh my god, the lavender walls. Oh my god, this. Oh my god, that. And to be standing here is very humbling.
Yeah, it really is.
Let's move on.
We walk out of the transporter room. Obviously, you see, above us there are the cross beams and the pipes with the color coding, which is really kind of cool. And you see the reflective panels on some of those cross beams.
Red alert windows.
Yep.
Which is really cool. One of the only things that I've seen that's remote controlled is one of the guys on set has a remote control for red alert. Clicks it on right away, whenever needed.
One of my favorite sets in the original series is the briefing room / rec room. And as we stand here, there are support joists holding the central beam because in the Georgia humidity, it could warp.
No pun intended.
Yeah, no pun intended.
Yeah.
But it's immediately recognizable. It's they need to shoot. They take the support jacks out, and they put them back. Dan's taking pictures.
Yeah, gotta do the pictures. Keep getting the in the way.
There's a removable wall on I think both ends, where they can make the room bigger or get better angles, which is really kind of cool.
One thing about this room, as we're here, we've talked about how some things look bigger now that we're here. This room looks smaller to me in person than it does on screen.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean.
Yeah. Now, that being said, we have been told that these panels come off so that then when doing the camera work, it probably makes it larger.
Yeah. I'm probably going to use most of this as notes for writing a narrative script.
Yep.
So you don't have to be as,
Oh, I can tell you that you're a big jackass now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Security doesn't open.
Nope.
Fine. Be that way.
So it's going to be the one that they burn a phaser? No, that's engineering. Captain.
Well, then the general... Whoa, hey. The quarters. This actually looks a lot smaller to me.
A lot smaller, especially the bedroom, not so much. The office, the captain's office, or whose ever quarters this is going to be. I will say I do find it, and I'll put this in my notes. I find it interesting that they do shop at Joanne Fabrics.
Yeah, so we walk into this room. Obviously, the dresser set is the sort of semicircle is in the wall. There's a twin mattress or box spring mattress there that doesn't have the dressing on it. There's various artwork that hasn't been hung, so they can switch it out when they need to. But there's 4 or 5 bags from Joanne Fabrics. That's
Pillows.
Various pillows, various things to dress the sets, various pieces.
This is tiny to me.
Yeah, I think of this, when I think of the man trap.
Yeah.
When the salt monster has got Kirk and Bones comes in the door and they shoot the phaser. And obviously this in the 60s, his back wall probably was not there. So think of it, this is not exactly a roomy set. It seems rather claustrophobic. Yeah, but it's multi-purpose, so you can move in Kirk's desk if you need to, and then the safe, where he keeps his orders is...
Correct me if I'm wrong. When this is Kirk's quarters, it's a different desk.
Yeah, it is. That's why I say they moved Kirk's desk.
I'm sorry, I didn't. I was looking at the panel.
Because you weren't listening.
I don't listen to you.
Huh?
Right. McKenna's quarters might have the round table.
Probably.
But, again, it's another situation where when the panel's out, the room probably has a bigger feel to it because the camera's back here.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, across the way is
An anomaly.
auxiliary control and the enhanced quarters, which they can dress up that way.
Yeah.
That's the piece that's Kirk's desk.
Yes.
Auxiliary control we saw in the mirror episode.
Yep. Like that. Bridge is falling over.
But I mean, it's just there's lots of colors and lights, and it's just really amazing. You see what...
This is, was this? No, this was not used in... When we saw the engine room in White Iris, that was green screened, but there was an office. Was it this set?
I don't think so.
I wonder what set it was.
I don't know. But it's interesting to look at this. If you walk into auxiliary control, and to the right of the view screen, there's this secondary panel that has a lot of colored lights on them, and they're mostly just holes with colored gel behind them, so they can light it from behind. It's really kind of cool.
Yeah, and it is gel, actually.
Yeah, it is. Data card slot. Data card, I don't think comes out.
Data card does not come out. Data card does not come out. They twist. I don't want to.
No, that's best not to. Well, also in this room, there's a cot
Yes. Casey made it very clear why that's there.
for people to lie down.
Yeah.
Because you don't want them necessarily lying on the sick bay
Right.
set beds.
Only Vic can do that.
God, we can't have. This is why we can't have nice things. This is it.
What's the blueprint?
The set?
Oh, bridge? Yep.
No, the whole thing.
Oh, okay.
This space.
Oh, nice. Huh. Wow.
At some point, the medical office is there.
Yes. Yep. And there's nothing here yet. Or is that this? I forget. No, this is this.
Well, we're right here.
Oh, are we?
Kind of. I think we're...
No.
Yeah, because we're right across from the briefing room.
Yep. Briefing room, Kirk's
We're in here.
quarters, bedroom, quarters. Yep. You're right. And you're right.
Yeah. It's a phrase I don't get tired of. As we reach the end of the corridor...
We spent a lot of time here the last 2 days.
We really have, because it's right outside the bridge set area. So is the Jeffries tube. And I think this is one of the things I was most excited to see. I can think of the episodes where Scotty's up in there, and there's all kinds of electricity moving around him, and it's a whole lot of nostalgia. The bridge, obviously, but this is probably like the number 2 thing that I think of. Probably even before the transporter room.
It's climbable, obviously.
Yeah, there's a perch up top so they can obviously shoot down. Turbo Lift 2 is at the end of the hallway. And it's got sort of this almost like a screen, I think, that wraps around, or clearly they can shoot from over here.
This was the, oh my god, it's Vic Mignogna blooper spot.
The handbrakes on the turbo lift.
Door mechanism. I will not touch. I will not touch. Do these turn? Oh, they do. Huh. Excellent.
Dan's just touching every button in the place.
I do that at toy stores.
And I'm still afraid to touch.
Like, hey, don't touch anything.
I'm still afraid to touch buttons.
Some ladder.
The ladder where Lolani was hiding at the beginning of episode 2.
Yep. And then the piece de resistance.
Then you walk the bridge set. And I'm immediately struck by the fact that there's no view screen.
Yes.
I'm not disappointed.
And as I said, we're standing at in between Sulu and Chekhov spots. So I'm like dead center of the bridge, where I think I would be looking to look at the view screen, and it's about 3.5 feet and a foot higher than what I would expect, and that's what they use for their center point.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah. The steps are weird.
I am.
I'm gonna go the other way. This is really the view I've been waiting for here.
See the turbo. It is.
As we stand outside the turbolift door and we look at the set, it's
unlit.
It's unlit. There's nothing on. All you hear is the hum of the big industrial fans to help suck out some of the heat from while we're shooting. And it's nothing short of amazing.
It is. I would love to stand in here before we leave.
I've always wanted to see this view from right here. Because, so many scenes of...
How does he do it? He's got the... It's the walk that he does. It's so perfect.
Vic's Kirk walk is spot on. I'm going to get off this set before we get yelled at, because I'm still afraid.
And did you notice that they changed the artwork like they were talking about?
I hadn't, and that's a great point.
Yep. Because it's a different
part of space.
Yeah, different scenes require different areas to view. It really is amazing. A lot of construction around, a lot of wiring. As
we've been here on set, we've been just off to the side on the Spock side of the bridge.
Yep.
And we've spent a lot of time kind of observing where the directors for the episodes have been, whether it's Julian or James, and kind of watching what they see on the monitor and translating it to how the actors are moving on set. Yeah. It's really been kind of a fascinating experience watching that whole creative process.
Watching it from the view screen that the director sees. Then they do another take. Watching it from what we see with all the camera people and the cast and crew all standing around. It's amazing the difference. But at the same time, it's amazing that it looks as awesome as it does from both angles.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I could walk these corridors all day and never lose the sense of awe and wonderment, I think, that I have now. And some people say, well, yeah, sure, you can say that now. But, after a couple of years, no. I really don't think so.
Because as we've said over and over again the last couple of days, what percentage of 1% get to do what we're doing right at this second? We're walking down the corridor of the Enterprise.
In my mind as a child and as I've grown into my adulthood, I've walked these corridors in my mind thousands of times.
Yep.
Well, then we get to Detour to Engineering.
Oh, yeah, we ran down in there.
You still haven't watched come through the main door to Engineering. Right. We're kind of taking the back way around because Bill's still afraid to touch stuff.
Yep. Oh, it's all done. It's all carved up.
May have been painting too.
The engine room the dilithium chamber is moved.
Yeah. Are those the deuterium tanks?
I think also? So. Could be, yeah. But this set is just awe-inspiring.
The engine room is, careful, I don't know if they've painted. You see the forced perspective in the warp core, and it looks amazing. And they've got the fence, or the grating, I don't know what really we ought to call it. And the rails climbing up to the second level are actual steel. They're not foam.
It's funny because where we're standing right now, it looks like we're at Red Alert, but that's just the sun shining in from behind the set.
It is. It looks good. In the workspace next to the engineering set, they've been working on building things for the episode to add detail to the engine room. But there's a chalk wall, and somebody's drawn a rendering of the Enterprise orbiting a planet with the sun behind it. It's really kind of cool. Handprints. You should take a picture of that. That's really kind of cool. Well, somebody's got to. We're walking through as the cast is eating lunch on day 2 of our visit here. Wardrobe? I'm going to stop now.
So after lunch, the shoot was delayed a little bit and starting back up. So you and I took the opportunity to chat with some folks that we just didn't get the chance to talk to the day before because they were on set all day.
Right. It's like the first time I ever done interviews, so it was kind of cool. I was very nervous. I got to say, I don't know if I looked it or sounded it, but I was really uncomfortable, especially when we sat down the first one.
Well, it didn't help us that, the first person we wound up talking to was somebody who had been on TV for years anyway.
Yeah. Mr. Grant Imahara. It was awesome. Of course, everybody knows he plays Sulu. He does a great job as Sulu. I love what he does with the character. As we talked about before, he wasn't in the bridge scenes for day 2, but they did have him there for doing some other things. So we took a few moments to talk to him during that break.
So, obviously we're 6 episodes in now. How did you wind up getting cast as Sulu?
So I got the role as Sulu. I met Vic at Dragon Con many years back, and we saw each other again at a mutual friend's party right when he was starting up Star Trek Continues. And he said, oh, Grant, yeah, you know what? I've got this this really cool project that I'm doing. And he started showing me pictures. He said, yeah, you like Star Trek? I'm sure every conversation has started this way. Oh, yeah, I love Star Trek. Oh, let me show you. And so he pulls out his phone. He starts showing me pictures of the bridge. I'm like, that is really cool. And I'm sure he probably saw the drool coming down the side of my mouth, corner of my mouth. And I was like, yeah, you know what, Vic? If you need any help, anything like that, just give me a call. He's like, okay, great. 2 days later, he's like, Grant, would you be my Sulu? I said, oh my. Yeah. So that was how it went, and it was fantastic. It was really, it's been a blast doing this show.
What the first time you came on set and sort of stood on the bridge? I mean, because I imagine you grew up a Trekkie. And it's hard to not do this, I think, right, and not be a Trekkie.
Yeah.
What was it like? Did you have this sort of...
The first time I got onto the bridge, we were shooting the vignettes. And so it was the very first time that we were all really together in our uniforms doing a thing. And I could not stop grinning. I mean, if you could imagine growing up with this and fantasizing about being on the bridge and then having a set that's this detailed, this complete, and this immersive. Mm-hmm. It's like, if there's such a thing as a nerdgasm, that's what I had that day. Because really, it was, when I talk about dream come true, this is a dream come true.
Wow. Obviously, people recognize you from Mythbusters.
Yes.
Are people now starting to recognize you as Sulu, and is that weird?
Oh, yeah. No, it's not weird at all to get recognized for being Sulu. I mean, Mythbusters you kind of expect because, it's been on for 10 years and people grew up watching it. But no, the thing that I'm coming to understand about Star Trek Continues is that we give people something, people who are fans of the original series, we give them something that they just can't get anywhere else. It's like being able to scratch an itch that you've had for years and years and years, and to have a show like this do it so well. And so when I think about that from that perspective, about what we do for the fans, I'm like, oh yeah, it's a natural that people will say, I love Star Trek Continues. I love what you guys are doing. I want to help you. I can't wait for the next episode. Right. And out of anything that I've done over the years, this has been the one project that has gotten 100% approval from all the feedback I've had is incredibly positive. And, in this day and age, that's tough to say about anything. There's always haters out there, but Star Trek Continues is...
Don't we know it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right. And Trek fans are notoriously difficult to please.
Yes.
And they have very high standards. Yeah.
One of the things I want to stay on one of the points that you just made is we've said this to some of the cast that we've talked to. I don't look at it as anymore as you are playing George's character of Sulu. You are now Sulu.
Right.
Vic is now Kirk. And that's a testament to the work that you guys are doing and the dedication that you have. And it's really phenomenal to see, for one thing. Has George seen your work, and has he commented on it at all?
Yeah. When I first started, I thought what I should do is just send George a tweet. Star Trek Continues hadn't come out yet, but I was like, you know what? He's been such an inspirational figure to me as an Asian American kid, growing up and seeing the one Asian American guy on TV who's not a thug or a gangster or some evil guy. He was a hero, and furthermore, he was part of the core crew flying the ship. And so when I was very young and watching this in syndication, I was like, wow, this is cool. It's cool to see somebody like me doing these cool things.
Okay.
Well,
we'll catch up to you again.
We'll catch up again. No problem. Thanks for a few minutes.
Thanks, Grant.
Appreciate it very much.
Appreciate the time, man.
All right.
And just like that, Grant was just whisked away to set, and we didn't get a chance to talk to him ever again.
Bye.
But it was a great conversation. I mean, Grant, it was very quick. We probably would have gone on unchecked for at least an hour if they hadn't let us. But what a great guy.
Absolutely. And we had talked about getting back together and finishing the conversation, but sometimes things like that can't happen because of schedules and everything going on. Such a stand-up guy. And like you said, he's known in television. He's been doing TV for a lot of times, and sometimes you feel a little nervous about what a person's going to be like who's got that fame. What a down-to-earth dude. Just so fun. And it was an even added bonus, totally off track of STC, but when the Discovery premiere in Hollywood a few years ago, after the premiere, we went to a bar. He showed up and we sat and hung out with him for a little bit.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah, it was awesome.
That's pretty cool.
Like, hey, that's Grant. Hey, Grant.
Remember me? I'm that idiot you talked to.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I remember.
He's like, yeah, but I thought you had hair. You're like, no, that's the other idiot.
No. It's the cease and desist order that
We were fortunate because we got a lot of time to essentially talk to the guys who sit up front.
Yeah.
And we spent more time with the guy who sat to Sulu's right.
Yeah, absolutely. Wyatt Lenhart, who played Chekhov, so young and so much, and you could tell how much he loves playing the character. Just like the character portrayed, he's the youngest member of the bridge crew, but unlike his fellow actors, he didn't have an established acting career. In fact, we actually talked with him about how he got the part of playing Chekhov on Star Trek Continues.
How did you get involved with this crazy group of people?
Well, that's actually a really interesting story. It all started a long time ago when I was just an anime fan.
Yeah.
Actually, I went to a convention that Vic happened to be at. I was there with a group of my friends. And, they were announcing the guests at the beginning of the show, and they're like, Vic Mignon. Everyone's like, oh. And he's like, hey, guys, I'm doing all these panels. And he's like, and I'm doing an original series, Trek panel, trivia. Come and see if you can stump me on questions. And in my mind, this was kind of my thought process. I was sitting there thinking, you know what? I've seen the original series all the way through, probably about 10 times at this point or more. My dad was a huge fan. He brought home the box set of DVDs when I was a kid, and we sat down, we watched the whole thing, and it just became like a I grew up watching the show, even though I wasn't old enough, to grow up watching the show. And so I stood up in front of the whole crowd and was just kind of like, hey, I'm going to kick your butt, dude. like bring it, let's see what you got.
Challenge accepted.
He's like, okay, give me your hardest question. And so I just fired out the first thing that came into my head. It was a question that somebody had asked me a long time ago that was like a direct quote from like an obscure part of the episode because they were trying to be dumb. But it stuck with me because I couldn't remember what it was. So that was just rapid fire. That was the first thing I could think of. And he kind of was like, oh, yeah. And I'm like sweating bullets, like down my face because I don't know the answer to this question. And he's like, yeah, so what's the answer? And I'm like, hey man, you got to go to the panel. It's all gonna go down. Everyone's like, oh, and then I turn to walk away, and I'm in like my anime outfit, so I got like flowing capes and stuff, and just walk out of the room, and I'm like, so we got to figure out the answer to that question. All my friends are like, what? Like, you didn't know? Oh my gosh. And so I'm like researching. I'm up all night trying to figure out exactly how I'm calling my dad on the phone. I'm like, hey, I need you to watch this episode. Like, tell me what's going on here. And we came to the conclusion that I had asked an inconsistent question. Like, it was wrong. Like, there was no answer. It was I mixed two questions together from like a couple different episodes, and so I'm like, I can't show my face there tomorrow. Like, there's no way. This is terrible. Like, what have I done? Like, I've set myself up for permanent failure.
That's awesome.
And I walk into the panel, and I think there's actually a video on YouTube of this somewhere. But and keep in mind, I still have no idea how much Vic knows about Star Trek.
Yeah.
None at all. Like, he just said he'd like, Star Trek, and he wanted to do a panel. So I was like, I'm gonna, So I walk in. I'm not in costume. I'm hoping he doesn't recognize me. Me and my friends kind of sit off to the side, and he walks in his full Star Trek uniform.
Yeah.
Now, keep in mind, this was before the show. This was before we were doing this.
Right.
So he had this all made for him.
So he was ready to rock.
Yeah, and he's talking about the authenticity of the uniform, where the things came from, who made his boots, where the fabric was from, and I remember sitting there thinking like, I am.
I was trying to throw you off your game.
Yeah, I can't. I'm just not going to say anything. I'm just going to watch and just hope that he forget that all of this happens. And he grabs a microphone and he's like, okay, where's Wyatt? And of course my friends rat me out. And so I stand up. And I guess kind of the regular gag is he has a Star Trek phaser, right? But it's a squirt gun.
Yep.
And so he takes that around at panels, and if somebody can't answer a question, he'll squirt them.
Yep.
But instead what happened is he just stood in front of me the entire time. And when someone would ask a question, he'd say, he'd look at me for the answer, and if I didn't know it, he'd squirt me. Then he'd answer their question, and then he'd squirt me again. And so after that panel, we just kind of got to be friends, and I'd email him questions all the time, trying to stump him. I got out my old Star Trek encyclopedia with my dad, and we'd still like, oh my gosh, he asked him this, and I'd text him rapid fire return. He's like, oh, that's easy. I'm like, gosh, dang it! Like, oh, for years I tried to stump him on just Star Trek trivia, and then I went to another convention a few years later, and we got to go talk to him in his autograph line after one of his panels, and he told me about the show, and he asked me to audition for Chekhov, and so I recorded some lines and sent them in. And
that's awesome.
That's pretty amazing. So. You were just somebody in an audience, and you left that mark on him, good or bad.
I was just in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Well, it's a relationship formed out of abuse. I think it's awesome. So is the toughest part about being Chekhov the accent?
Yeah, so yes and no. So the accent, it's not really a good Russian accent, right? Like, it's not thick and deep like you would think most Russian accent, like welcome comrade, it's kind of nasally, and it's broken up. So there's some places where the accent's very poignant, and other places where you can't even notice it at all. But it's Chekhov accent is kind of what I call it. It's not like the Russian accent, good or bad. It really is kind of a not so great Russian accent. And so finding the nuances in there was something that I think, because I grew up watching the show, helped me.
Right.
And being the young kid watching the show, I definitely connected with Chekhov a lot.
Is it distracting at all when you're trying to learn lines and material? Or does it help with the cadence of
of line memorization.
It helps because I know that when they're writing the lines, it's with Chekhov's accent in mind.
Yeah.
And so kind of as they're composing the script, it's very like, okay, Chekhov would then say this. And so very, very rarely do I ever have a line where I'm like, I have no idea how he would say that.
Yeah.
I've done the because growing up, I'd do the accent. Like
Right.
before I ever even did the show, I had the accent down. In fact, when I went to go see Vic, he's like, "Hey, can you do a Russian accent?" I just busted into the Chekhov accent, and he was going like, "Oh, wow.
Nuclear whistles.
Yeah, nuclear whistles."
Across the bay in Alameda.
One of the things that I've asked everyone that we've spoken to, I'll ask you, and it's a compliment and a question, is since now you're working on the 6th episode, I don't look at any of the cast of Star Trek Continues as someone who is playing someone else who played a character. I see you as Chekhov. I see Kim as Uhura. I see Vic as Kirk. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a testament to the work that you guys do. But with that being said, have you had the opportunity to ever talk to Walter, and has he seen you as Chekhov?
Briefly, and I don't think so.
Okay.
I've gotten to talk to him just for a few seconds.
Yep.
I was actually at the first time I got to talk to him was at Vegas, Star Trek Vegas. I think it was last year. I got to go into his autograph line, and I just just brief like, "Hey, how you doing? I play Chekhov in Star Trek Continues. Nice to meet you. Okay, thanks, bye." And then he came to Salt Lake Comic-Con, and Chris Doohan brought me back into the green room, and I got to shake his hand.
Great. Oh, that's cool.
Talking about the show and just briefly, but I don't know if he's seen it or not.
Well, I'm sure if he has seen it, he's probably as impressed as everybody else is, because it's fantastic work.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Thank you so much.
As fans like Bill and I are, that are it's such a concrete part of our life. It's in our blood every single day to be able to see what you and everybody else in the cast and behind the crew, now that we've seen behind the scenes, is just another reason why we think what you guys do is there's nobody that comes close. And it's really fantastic, and it's great to be able to sit and talk to you and tell you about it, and witness it in person.
Is it weird, as somebody who used to just go to conventions and stuff like that, to now be recognized at conventions for Chekhov?
Yes. It is kind of an interesting transition between like being on one side of the curtain and now on the other, and even I think with some people in the cast and the crew, because I was a fan, right? And like as people who go to these conventions, I had to make the transition, not just myself, but like in relationship with the people here, from fan to colleague, right? So like I had to kind of be like, I'm not just going to come out and like geek out about all the cool things that you're in, because granted, I met these guys at conventions. These guys were people that I looked like was a fan of. That's why I was there. And so now to be working with them, it's kind of been like I said, that transition to not be the fan but be the colleague, so be just more professional about it, I guess.
With that in mind, tell us what it was like, because today we stood on the bridge for the first time.
Oh my God.
And it was, there you go. As a fan, and now you are part of this, what was it like that first day where you sat in that chair?
I will never forget. I will never forget the first time. It was me and Grant, and we had our uniforms on, and we walked onto the set, and it was lit. I mean, because we'd seen the set and we'd seen the uniforms, but we put on the uniforms, as authentic as like humanly possible.
Yeah.
And the hair and makeup's on, and you walk onto the set, and it's lit, and the lights are on, and you sit at the station. I just remember we both just sat there, and then just like we looked at each other, just like, oh my gosh, is this real?
Yeah.
Like, is this real life? Because this is amazing.
Yeah.
And that was just, it was, I can't even describe just like the cool, like, it not only are you, it's not just like you got to go sit on the set, but then you got to then play those characters, act out the scenes and the lines with other characters and the sound effects, and it's just the coolest thing that I've ever done.
So William Shatner doesn't watch himself. He's never watched himself. Have you watched yourself in Star Trek Continue?
Oh yes, all the time. I think I'm probably the most nervous out of anybody in the show. I think for the same reasons, because I did a lot of acting, but everybody else here is a professional actor, like in their own right. Like that's what they do for their job. Like they are acting in some form or another, and so I'm always just like so like paranoid, trying to make sure like, okay, like is it up to par? Like I'm like, ah, gosh, did I say that line right? You know.
Yeah.
But I feel like I've been able to really get into the character and make it believable and really pay tribute to Walter Koenig and Chekhov as the character.
I have two favorite scenes that stand out for me for you. One of them is actually kind of a credit to the writing staff, but it was a line that you delivered and it was great, and it was when you referenced the Xindi from Enterprise. Love the way that came out, because it was also from a camera angle that we don't really see very often when you turn the way that you did. I thought that was great, and my favorite...
The Xindi...
When you were referencing that you had studied a paper about the Xindi when you were in the Academy. And then the other one was in the Mirror episode when you just got out of the Agni booth and you're all excited to be back on the bridge, and Vic's just like, nah,
take him back to the Agni.
Your reaction was priceless, and it's one of those ones that I love watching over and over again.
That was a great scene. That's actually one of my favorite scenes, because when I go back into the turbo lift, you hear the scream and that was kind of added last second as like I went into the doors, and the scream just kind of like continued as I was descending into the agony.
That was great.
So I guess in episode 7, you're gonna get a little decoration on your sleeve.
Some braids.
Yeah.
That's kind of been the joke, right? Like since we've been filming all of these episodes, it's like Chekhov's doing anything for promotion. And in these 2 episodes, they kind of do a couple bits like that, where it's like the first episode, like in episode 6, we have it's the stay in the car Chekhov moment, where Chekhov's like, hey, I want to go, and they're like, no, stay on the bridge, And so when episode 7 happens, and there's a lot of stuff that goes into that, but Chekhov does finally get promoted, and he's thinking about going into tactical, because that's where he is. At the beginning of the first movie.
Yep.
I think that's a good natural progression.
Awesome.
Because we often wondered how the characters got from where they were in Turnabout Intruder to the beginning of Motion Picture. And I know that some of that groundwork is being laid. And I think it's natural. I think it's good.
There's some big questions to answer.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like, because Kirk, takes a desk job, he becomes an admiral, which, is not him at all.
No.
Spock leaves Starfleet.
Yep.
And McCoy gives up his practice
grows
entirely.
The beard.
Yeah, grows the beard.
Chuck in the beard is going to be the best thing we've ever seen.
It's going to be awesome.
How does that happen? And that's going to be something to behold, I think, when it happens.
I think one of the ways that I can best describe it, how I truly feel, is you guys are now a real part of Star Trek history with what you're doing. And as Bill has said this many times, we're not watching a fan production of Star Trek. We are watching episodes 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, and on.
Yeah.
And it's great. There's not really much else you can say about it.
You can watch an episode of the original series. We were having this conversation
this
earlier.
morning.
And you can watch an episode that continues right after it. And it's the same series visually. It's the same series as far as tone and feel and character development. And I think that's a huge testament to the writing. I think it's a huge testament to the performances that are being delivered by the actors all around, because it hits on all marks.
And I think what you just said there at the very end was like super important. It hits on all the marks, because I think if one thing were just slightly off, it wouldn't work.
The fan base would realize
exactly.
It
like
on you.
It wouldn't, like if this weren't right, if the lighting wasn't right, if the sets weren't right, if the the uniforms were off, if the acting wasn't there, if the writing wasn't there, the story, all that stuff, it wouldn't work.
Right.
Yeah, and with plenty of other things we go, oh yeah, that.
Yeah.
But with Continues, there is none of that.
You find yourself immersed.
Yeah.
You find yourself like it.
Yeah. That's cool.
Awesome.
All right, man. We really appreciate the time.
Hey, thank you guys so much.
Did a great
for being
job.
here.
Thanks for letting us be here. And
Dan, Wyatt was in an environment where he had to play this character that's been around practically forever, and he really did an admirable job. Now, earlier in the day, there was this one moment where he had to give director James Kerwin several different versions of the same line repeatedly over and over and over. And well, that was really an interesting look at the process. Here's a little bit of the audio from that part of the shoot.
Okay. Sound.
Rolling.
Camera.
Camera's rolling. File 134.
Slate.
12-B, check 1, soft 6. Mark.
Set. Ready. And I'm seeing no unusual activity in the system.
Confirmed. There's nothing.
But the transmissions clearly said.
Oh yeah, no believe. Okay, hold on. Let's take it back. Let's give me another one, Wyatt. Give me a couple. Vary it up a little bit. Okay. Give me a few. So you want me to go through my? No, just Wyatt. Let him take it. Whenever you feel it, man.
Confirmed. There is nothing. Confirmed. There is nothing. Confirmed. There is nothing.
After the confirmed, look up at the view screen as you're saying there's nothing.
Okay? Confirmed. There is nothing.
Give me a feel like that.
Confirmed. There is nothing. Confirmed. There is nothing. Confirmed. There is nothing.
Hold there. Cut. Great.
It's a guy.
Keep the camera in the same place.
You know, I got to say, man, it is amazing to see the creative process and how a director like James goes through getting the take he wants. And believe me, he's going to keep doing it until he gets that take that he wants. And it was great to see it.
I get the sense it's kind of like the same way that Nick Meyer worked with Shatner, where he would just keep having him do it over and over and over until he really got the one that rang the bell for him.
Right.
So, but what a great little snippet of audio, because I have to believe that in some sense, unless you're used to doing that, it's got to seem like, why does he have to keep saying that same line over and over? But to see it was really kind of fascinating.
Mm-hmm. It really was.
Dan, we've become huge supporters of our new friends at Science Division. We both absolutely love their officially licensed and interactive Tribble, but they're doing a free event for fandom this coming weekend, and honestly, it sounds pretty amazing.
Yeah, it absolutely does, buddy. It's the Connected Community Con, and it's coming up this coming Sunday, June 14th, starting at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. It's online, and like Bill said, it's 100% free. In fact, Science Division just announced that helping them kick off the con is none other than our friend Alexander Siddig from Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
Wow, Dr. Julian Bashir himself making a house call this coming Sunday, and it's definitely shaping up to be a fantastic event. In addition to Sid, you'll have the opportunity to chat with a wonderful group of artists, content creators, small business owners, cosplayers, some podcasters, and fan groups, all related just to Star Trek.
Now, this con is all about community, and Kaylia and Jay are organizing a great one. That's for sure. Plus, wrapping up the day is a fantastic panel with our very own Ali Martinez, the 24-year-old Trekkie, on navigating destructive negativity and gatekeeping. And I can't think of a better person to have that discussion with, since Ali is such a positive force within our fandom.
And it's all coming up this Sunday, June 14th, 2020, starting at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, you can get more information on the Science Division website at sciencediv.com. Just click on the link for the Connected Community Con at the top of the page. Now, when you visit that page on the day of the con, you'll find a link to each participant's virtual table there with their bio. Clicking on the link was going to take you into either a Skype or Zoom meeting to talk with the participant as though you just walked up to their table in the room. They're still adding tables, and anyone who's interested in hosting one can get more information on the Science Division website, again at sciencediv.com.
You know, we're all missing conventions this year, and this online con is all about community and passion. So we hope you'll check it out. And while you're at it, check out their amazing interactive Tribble, because we know you're going to want one when you see it. Science Division. Trouble's never been this fun. And we thank our friends at Science Division and the Connected Con for sponsoring this week's episode.
So once filming for the day had resumed, you and I grabbed producer Casey Shafsky to have a conversation about how the production works from his perspective behind the scenes. Now, this was recorded, like we said before, some time ago, and when we had literally only known Casey for one day at this point. And since this day, 4.5 years ago, he truly has become one of our closest and dearest friends, Dan.
He really has, man. You know, he basically just gets a directive from Vic, says, hey, 2 guys are coming down from New Hampshire, so let's, show them around the set while we're filming. And he's like, who, what? And I'm sure that's something that he had to deal with a lot, because people would come in while they were filming. Vic would bring people in to show them what's going on. And so our flight was delayed, and I had to be communicating with him that we were going to be late, and we weren't going to be there that first night. So what do we want to do? Do we want to meet late at night, or do we want to just meet tomorrow at the studio? It turns out it was tomorrow at the studio, which is another thing I was concerned about because I never worry about anything. It's like, oh my God, we're going to go in and we're going to meet this guy, and he's already going to have stuff going on, and it's going to suck, and he's going to hate us, and blah, blah, blah. He really has become one of our truest friends in the world. He is so caring and so wonderful, and he fits right into how our friendship is with the sarcasm but the appreciation of each other. And I think it's one of the most positive thing that's come out of that trip.
I have to agree with you. Without a doubt, Casey Shafsky is one of the most generous people I have ever known in my life. If you mention haphazardly on Facebook that you have a cold, you get a delivery from Amazon with cold medicine and NyQuil and tissues.
Yep.
And a stuffed Star Trek bear.
Yep.
That's just who Casey is. He loves his friends. He loves people. He loves to do kind things. He loves dogs. We all three of us have that in common.
Puppet.
But as you can hear in this extended audio, he's got a huge responsibility to keep everything going and where it's supposed to be. And then, of course, also having to deal with us.
So, yeah, no, it's all good.
Okay.
It's all good. Sorry. It's in the raw.
There we go.
It's fine.
Here we go.
So you were pretty much responsible for everything around here.
Well, yeah, somewhat.
Yeah.
Somewhat.
So it's a well-oiled machine.
Thank you.
You are kind of at the controls of the machine, making sure everybody's in the right place at the right time to do the right thing to some extent.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So it's a big logistics job, first off, and then just making sure that with, like you said, everything that we might possibly need, or whoever we might possibly need, are here.
Yeah.
Ready to go.
Yeah.
And that we can just gun through and shoot our episodes.
On a day-to-day basis when you're here, what's the toughest part?
Besides Bill.
Yeah, besides dealing with us.
I think once we're here day to day, things kind of mellow out.
Yeah.
Because it's getting everybody from all the different parts of across the country here at the same time, and making sure there aren't flight delays or issues like that might affect our schedule. And then as soon as we're here, the hardest part is, all right, get everybody from the hotel.
Yep.
And then make sure they're here.
How long does it take to schedule out a block of time like this? So at one point, do you start saying, all right, everybody, do these dates work for you? How far out in advance do you have to do that?
Yeah, we usually talk about preliminary dates about 4 to 5 months ahead.
Wow.
And what we'll do is start thinking through, and it's like, okay, what months generally for people will work? And then go, is there anything else happening in those certain times? So like now we're getting close to Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So it was like, well, we need to do it before Thanksgiving because the flights out are going to be
Right.
Egregiously expensive.
Expensive, full.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then all the hubs will get impacted and that type of stuff. And it's like, well, we want to get everybody home after, being away for about 2 weeks from their families. Get everybody home and make sure that they just get there as easily as possible.
Wow.
Yeah.
So while you're doing that, we're now filming 6 and 7, or you're now filming 6 and 7. I say, wait, listen to me.
I know, right?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Jingles, enough.
Have you come across anything since you've been doing this for all these episodes where you've got everything planned, everything's right, and then a bomb drops and something?
We haven't had any bombs going off like that. So doing this for about 4 years, and I would say travel seems to be the issue if anything would happen.
Okay.
But the nice thing is everyone knows what they're doing and is flexible enough. So, okay, we have to shift the schedule a couple hours and do this. Yeah. It's like, well, what we can do is instead of shooting this scene now, we'll bring something from the end of the day.
Yep.
Do that. And how we shoot, we're not moving from set to set to set to set to set. So we get everything in one place. You don't have to change all the lighting.
Yep.
Some of it will stay relatively stationary and then
Right.
just specific for each person. But no, there has been no bomb
That's good.
that's gone off, and part of that is with everyone's dedication to know. It's like, since we're all coming out here and volunteering our time, this is
Yep.
the time we're going to do it. And we're not going to be here crazy hours.
Yep.
It's going to be so that everybody stays well rested, gets the stuff done. We're having fun,
Yep.
but this isn't camp.
Right.
Right.
And it's like, so our goal here is to shoot the episode
Yep.
and then have a good time doing it. Great. And, I just keep knocking on wood. So far, no bomb coming off, man.
One of the things that we have asked everybody that we've had is, how'd you get involved in this? What happened? It's going to be a good story. You've had good stories for us. So this is going to be a good one.
I met Vic and Matt Busey years ago working on a different production. And we all got along. And I could see that Matt really knew what he was doing. And Vic really knew what he was doing. And he was very excited about thinking, because, I'm thinking of doing this Star Trek project. So the little town where we were for this other project, my wife and I had rented a place that had a kitchen. So my wife's a food stylist. So she's like, well, if you're going to be off doing all this stuff and I'm coming with you on vacation, it's like, I want something to do. And it's like, and I go, well, and I'd love like real meals that night. So thank you very much. So since we had the kitchen, every now and again, I would invite certain people back. And because I tell her, I go, hey, I'm thinking of inviting Busey and Vic, and that's where I also met Matt Ewald. And back, and she's like, okay, and because she loves to cook. So we did that, and this idea was percolating in Vic's mind. And I think he was at that point really formulating what he wanted to do.
Yeah.
And as he was talking about it, and I was so dissatisfied with the production we were working on at that time for someone else, and he was like, well, would you like to be involved in my production? And I was like, yeah, I really would.
Tough decision.
But it was professional stuff going on where people know what they're doing and keep their promises. And so that was 4-ish years ago. And then I worked with Busey and Vic on a small project for Matt Busey.
Oh, okay.
that's cool.
Yeah. So went back to the East Coast for that, and we all just tightened up the relationships and stuff and how we work. And so from point one, I've been involved, and it was great.
There's an obvious rhythm, just in observing yesterday. I mean, everything's efficient. Everything is done well, and it seems like you all have a shorthand and a way of working that seems to just flow really, really easily.
I think so, and part of that is the recursion with us all working together,
Right.
And a lot of discussion early on about things. And part of what I've worked with everybody is like we don't work with assumptions.
Yeah.
It's just really make a request, get it fulfilled. It's done. Okay, great. We move on to something else. And then for everybody, if you've got a question, and ask or go, oh, why are we doing it this way? And to find out, because then it could be, oh, what's the construction person thinking and what is their strategy or plan? Or for the director, why are they doing things in a certain way? Because are they going for a certain mood? Or are they going for this? Then we can all be involved in that communication and know what their goal is. And then it starts becoming where, like you said, the shorthand. And it's like, okay, so we know how certain people work and other people work and go through it. And it is that recursiveness, the recursion going through. And, then after the shoot day, like I say, if we all go out and eat and we're all talking about our personal lives and all this other stuff. And so you find out really, and so this person really does production full time. Oh, this other person does production full time. Oh, this person who's a volunteer doesn't, but does this, and start really getting to know their strengths.
that's one of the things that amazed me at dinner last night, because we were lucky enough to go out with you all and have dinner. And the first thing that struck me was the immediate sense of family. I mean, it was like a large, almost like a Thanksgiving meal where you have, 40 people, for God's sake.
Yeah.
But the individual stories of people around that table are all incredibly interesting. They have all come from various walks of life, whether it's professionals in the industry or not. And they're coming from all over the place. And it's like, oh yeah, well, I'm up in Canada and I met these guys at a convention once, and they said, hey, come on down. I'm like, really?
Yeah. Well, that's part of the amazing thing is with the producers, so most of us, almost all of us have production experience or accomplishments.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, for all of us, it's 25 plus years of accomplishment. And then filling in with other people who are volunteers, who are either like studying a certain things, like, hey, I'm studying sound at this, or I'm studying this. And really then be with different ages and different stages of life that people are in, going through that. And where people have said, it's like, you guys are like a family and all that stuff. And like, I always go through it, and I've talked with Vic multiple times. I go, I don't call us a family, because I have my family on there.
Yeah.
And then on certain things, I go, I've seen families that aren't mine, but families who don't treat each other too well.
Yeah.
And I was like, I relate to it as like, these are friends because I choose my friends.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. Yeah.
And it's like, I want to be around people. And then it's where other families who do treat themselves well, and then you can identify with that.
Yeah.
And because I get that from my family.
Yeah. Right.
And there you go.
I'm pointing to you, man.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's probably better said. There's a huge spirit of community here.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And we weren't sure what to expect when we first came up yesterday. I mean, because you can go into any environment, and we both work in IT, and when you walk into any given IT shop, it's there's factions and there's divisions and there's ego.
The cliques.
Yes.
There's definite cliques. And you walk in here and, you understand that, this is an artistic form. All of these people are specialists in their own field, and they all have their given, expertise at whatever they do. And that could very easily cause cliques and factions. And we walked through, and there was absolutely none of that. Yeah. And it was really kind of weird to us because, you hear all these Hollywood horror stories from time to time of productions and diva attitudes on both sides of the camera. And it's like, you walk through and these are just a bunch of people who truly care about one another and enjoy being in this space for, a few weeks a year and creating this amazing content. And yeah, it's like, it's like a spirit. It is a community.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, but that atmosphere is created.
Yeah.
So it comes. It comes from all of us top down.
Yep.
And it's like, the tip of the arrow has to be the sharpest.
Right? Yeah.
Right.
And then as you go down, it's like, okay, here we are, and to have genuine concern for people, genuine care for them of what else is going on in their life and while they're here, and to not fall into those patterns of now these little groups, and because it's us here,
right?
We are a team, and it might be somebody else's department, but it affects everyone,
right?
So where we can help do whatever. So with construction stuff, when I came in early, I was like, okay, I've got logistics to finish up, and when I'm done, what do you need?
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, hey, we need this. We're going to paint this. And I'm like, okay, fine.
We expected at some point you were just going to put us to work yesterday.
Well,
there's still today, Bill.
There's plenty of time. But I've seen you with a roller, and I don't know.
It's not pretty. That's my wife doesn't let me paint at home either.
There you go.
It's it's not pretty, and I wouldn't trust Dan with anything.
Nothing.
No.
Casey, one of the things you said is in this environment also, I would expect that with not having those clicks, you just kind of touched on a little bit, if something's going on in an area that people aren't familiar with, everybody seems ready to rally around that part. Like, for example, if there was a set piece that broke or something like that, it seems like there would just be everybody just coming right there to see what they can do to help out.
Well, yeah, absolutely, because it's our episode, and it benefits everyone.
Right.
And from how I see it, and from working production for as long as I have, it's if you you have to offer help first before you can get help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when you're offering the help, you're building trust with people.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of just trust being given, it's being earned.
Yeah.
Right.
And then you're building your history, and people know, oh, okay, when that person says, hey, I'll help you, and it gets done, then you know that will happen. And we have so many people who know aspects of Trek or their specialized skills.
Yep.
Or like you're saying, if something goes wrong, there's a good amount of people that they not only offer to help, but they can help.
Yes. Yep.
Because the empty offer of help, that's sweet.
Right.
But then it doesn't matter.
Yeah. However well intentioned, it means nothing.
Exactly, because it's like, okay, but then being able to go, oh, I know that.
Yep.
I know where that button goes, or I know this, or I can fix that. And having, I always call it kind of a wave of people. Because that first wave comes in.
Yep.
And then if there's another question, we know there's another wave coming 6 seconds from now.
Yep.
And it's,
great.
and it's not crashing over anybody or anything like that. But you go, okay, if I need help, I know I have a backup and a backup and a backup.
Wow.
And
So,
look it through.
were you a Star Trek fan before you came into this?
I was when I was really little in elementary school. So I have a brother who's 6 years older than I am. So after school, we'd walk home, and on Channel 2 at 4 o'clock, Star Trek was on.
Yeah.
That sounds familiar, doesn't it, Bill?
It really does. It sounds a lot like my story.
There you go. So with my brother being 6 years older than me, and that age difference, like him wanting or letting me hang out with him during that time was great.
Yeah.
So that became the emotional tie
Yeah.
for me.
Definitely.
And we would do that, and then it became, I was so young, I didn't understand the stories. But then I kind of started figuring it out, and then I remember I still have it. I have two things still at my house. I have a small communicator that was from the little, like Explorer kit that came.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I still have mine from '72. It's busted up, but I still have it. And then I have a poster that my parents gave me one Christmas, and it's the quintessential, the cruise on the transporter pad poster. And it's ratted out on the sides, but I still have it.
Of course you do.
And, and it's tucked away. So that show, and gosh, it could have been any show,
Right.
that I wanted to watch. But that show was, and my brother's really smart. So he was getting certain things from it that I wasn't at the time. And then I really liked it, and I was creative on the more creative end and stuff. So I was using cardboard boxes and everything to make stuff as much as possible. So that whole thing ties together. And then when I come down here and we shoot and all stuff, and I go back home, then I talk to my brother about stuff on it.
Yep.
And, I tell him, oh, yeah, we're doing this and we're doing that and a lot. And I go, I mean, you remember those decades ago in elementary school? And it's like when we're supposed to be doing our chores and we're watching Star Trek. And then Mom would come home, we'd turn the TV off really quick and run around like trying to do the trash. And she'd go over and feel the top of the TV. Busted every time. And it was like, and my brother was like, we just laugh.
That's awesome.
Like, well, yeah. So it's wonderful. And then for everybody, like when you guys come and, and then walking you around because when I first came in and saw the sets, and I was like, you need a moment.
Yeah.
You do.
And things just flood back in.
Yeah.
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 It was, especially for me, I mean, we've told my story on the podcast before. I was, my brother was 9 years older than me.
Oh, okay.
And at dinner time, Star Trek and the $6 Million Man were on competing channels. And I wanted to watch $6 Million Man, and he wanted to watch Star Trek. And he always won because he was the older brother. And I didn't tell him for years that I secretly loved Star Trek because the fight was what we did. And in '79, when the motion picture came out, he he took me to a matinee and we both fell asleep.
He does that on the podcast from time to time, too.
Well, when I'm talking to you, it's really easy.
15 minutes of dead air. Wow, that's a long podcast.
Well, it makes a great edit point.
Yeah, that's true.
He passed away, unfortunately, in 96.
Oh, man.
And, we were both adults at that point. And, he was living out in Arizona. And, I was an adult and I had recently, gotten married. And we were starting to talk again. And, we had, never really talked about Next Gen or anything after that. And we were getting ready to come see each other when, unfortunately, he had passed suddenly. And, it's walking the corridors yesterday. I'm like, oh, God. It's like my brother would have loved to have seen this.
Yeah.
And then immediately came back. It's like, whoa.
Yeah.
And then seeing the bridge. I compared it yesterday to like being a really tiny kid and walking into a giant church for the first time.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You get that sense of awe-inspiring because you're meant to feel that way. They want you to feel like, oh my God. And that's kind of how I felt.
There you go.
It was all so giant and real,
Yeah.
but yet so tangible.
Yeah.
I could reach out and touch the navigation console. Vic made us.
You touched the navigation.
I did.
Okay, replace that console immediately.
I want to disinfect that.
Oh, trust me. As soon as you left, the wipes came out, man.
So you walked us through initially.
Yes.
And, the first thing we saw was sick bay. And it was like we both just had this rush of, oh my God, that's sick bay. Oh my God.
The fabric.
The fabric.
Yeah.
And then we laid on the beds. No, I'm kidding.
You laid on the bed?
No, we didn't.
Wow.
I promise we did not.
I take back every bit of information for this podcast possible. Non-usable.
Armed guards have shown up and we're being escorted out. No, and then of course when Vic found out that we had walked through, he insisted on taking us through again.
Because my tour wasn't good enough.
Right.
It was the Mignogna tour.
The Mignogna. He made us sit in the captain's chair.
That's cool.
And we didn't want to.
Yeah. We were both like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not sitting in the chair. And he practically ordered us to sit in the chair. And then once you get in the chair, you're like,
I'm not getting out of this chair.
oh, it swivels?
Yeah.
This is really good. I'm in the captain's chair.
There you go.
It was a real nerdvana moment.
Well, it's that whole, because when you're used to the 4x3, and I mean, you're watching.
Yeah.
You're watching, and you're not embodying the experience. And then coming in here, and that's when, like, I was taking you guys around, I was purposely trying to shut up at times. So that you guys, like, whatever, because I remembered what I was kind of experiencing, and I go, I just want somebody to just shut up and let me deal. Because, like you were saying with going, a church or cathedral type thing, I equated it with when my dad took us the first time to Candlestick Park for a baseball game. And you hit and you're going through the corridors and it's kind of dark and you see that white thing and you come out and that field of green.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my God, this is huge.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. And then when you're here, that same feeling, but a little bit reversed because the sets are small.
Right.
Though, I had the opposite.
Did you? Okay.
I did. And I had the opposite with what you were talking about. We're from New England. First time at Fenway Park or the first time at Sullivan Stadium back in the day or Gillette Stadium now for the Patriots. Seeing it on TV, it always looked huge to me. Like because of where the cameras are and when they're going to show a ground ball, it's like it looks like it's a mile before it gets to the second baseman. The first time I got to Fenway Park and I walked up those steps and saw the field, I'm like, this is small. But yesterday, getting up to the bridge, used to seeing it the way that it is on TV, I'm like, this is bigger than I expected it to be. I expected it to be smaller. Like you said, I expected that. It was reversed for me for some reason.
There you go.
Yeah. And one of the other things that I felt that I was very interested is, I think you said it, but I know that Vic said it as well, is we go there and the experience is amazing and he sometimes is concerned that seeing it in person the way it is with the camera and there's no view screen will take away. It added to the experience.
Yeah, it did take away from
adds
it all.
to it for us. It was really something else.
I hear you. I hear on that. I have had, working on it, you go, well, has some of the magic gone away? And it's like, well, no, because your memories are still your memories.
Yeah.
And then you make new ones on that, and it might change your assessment a little bit, but it doesn't change the past experience that you've had.
Right.
And like you're saying, so it's like, okay, we're here, and I go, I've seen the back of this stuff, I'm in production. I know it. I know things are plywood on the other side. Anything that isn't being shown on camera, I know what's on the other side. It's stuff you ain't gonna see. So guess what? It ain't painted. That's how this stuff is. And you go and you're like, all right. But then, because I got that too. Then when you see where everything's lit up, and then edited, you go, oh yeah. This is the fantasy life magic time where it happens. And
well, as you say that right now, we are sitting behind the engineering set.
And
we're looking at plywood.
It's gorgeous plywood.
Plywood. Did you put any of that plywood up?
I didn't.
I was going to say, because the one that you did looks the best.
Well, yes, I did. I did that one. The plywood with no knots in it, that's mine. I grew that tree. I cut it down.
You raised it from a sapling.
I did. It loved me singing to it. And then I planed it.
Would you have sang like Aaron Neville?
I don't know much, but I can grow trees.
But on the other side of this wall is an engineering set that looks like it's ripped out of 50 years ago.
It is.
And it's gorgeous. The forced perspective warp core is
it's amazing.
Beautiful.
Amazing. Lit or unlit?
Lit or unlit. That first, opening the double doors and seeing for that, the first perspective. And I know it's first perspective. You go, God, that's amazing.
What added to me yesterday we saw it with the tour and we've been walking back and forth, but at some point during the day, somebody turned on the engine room sound and we first walked by and I stopped and I was like, that's the engine room sound. And so we just
I thought he was hearing
stood
things
there
because I didn't hear it yet. And I'm like, oh my God, it is the engine room.
It's all right, SB.
Wow. SB, that's what it is for now.
A little nickname. But I mean, when you got, I hear you. Going through and, I mean, seeing the back, it doesn't matter.
No.
And then you go in it and you're like, okay, and having the blueprints and having talented people who know what they're doing to put it all together. And the care. And the, oh no, this has to be this. And the nice little thing of getting things right, but not where, you slow everything down because of something. But it's like, well, no, get it as right as possible. And then realizing, when you go back and you watch certain stuff, and you're like, oh, is that a little bit of a camera flag, maybe, from the original series? And you just keep going. And then realizing, like, oh yeah, they didn't build 7 or 8 different quarters for people. It's just a redress.
Which blew my mind yesterday when we saw that. That's the question I had for you. I'm like, is this the same one? Because it was the only one that we saw. Like, there's no other hidden sets that we're aware of. So
none that I know of either. I don't, but they're not telling me anything.
And it's amazing to think that what you can do with the same set just by redressing it. It's amazing.
You redress, you light it slightly differently. You swing walls out to be able to shoot it differently. And it's amazing. It's like, well, the corridor. It's that corridor. And I just kept going. I'm like, in my head, I just have a full circle. And because I go, no, it's just this continuous circle. And you buy it. You go,
And that's a testament to the work that is done all around with everybody here.
Oh my God.
Behind the scenes. It's something I have always appreciated, but not to the level that I appreciate it now.
Okay.
The behind the scenes, the work that you and everybody does, the camera crew and wardrobe and makeup. I mean, everybody's right there as soon as it's needed to make what we see on the screen perfection. That's how I look at it.
Thank you. It's magical. As fans, I mean, we are acutely aware of the fact that we are doing something that so precious few people will ever get to do. We understand that we're not only guests here, we've hit the fan lottery. Now, I mean, and that's not hyperbole. I mean, it's not like you guys invite the world to come down.
No.
You've trusted us to be in your environment for a couple of days, and we're trying to be stewards of that trust. And at the same time, we're going, oh my God, we're on the bridge of the Enterprise. And it doesn't take away from, it enhances
absolutely
all of the magic.
No, I hear you on that. Well, that's part of, I mean, we're glad you guys are here, and you guys have accomplishments with your podcast. And so,
We can say it. It's okay.
We just had somebody really tiptoe through. And his whispering is even like this. Sorry. Didn't mean to tiptoe so loudly. Wow. It's like they got cement feet.
But it doesn't take away from any of it. In fact, it makes me now, when I go back and I'll watch the original series, I'm going to start thinking of it with a more behind-the-scenes eyes. Like, I'm going to know that the engineering set probably didn't look not unlike this behind it. Or that, hey, they probably just redressed that corridor. Because I know they didn't have the money to build a full circle like they did in Next Gen.
There you go.
Yeah.
Because it's funny, when you watch Next Gen Enterprise and they're doing long walk and talks through the corridors, you can see they're just snaking through the corridor sets they have.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, wait, where the hell are they going?
Right.
They just pulled a circle. Do they think we didn't see that?
Yeah. I hear you. Absolutely.
But no, it's beautiful and it's magical, and truly we can't thank you guys enough.
Oh, well, thank you guys for being here. I mean, part of that is having people that will appreciate what we're doing, and then have people appreciate that all that you already have for TOS, and that we're hopefully augmenting things, and that it's, as a continuation, where that it's quality. We make promises and we keep them.
Yep.
So it's like when we say, hey, episodes are coming out here, that's when they're coming out.
Right.
And to be able to really, steward what we can, and have people who have worked on the original series appreciate it, or compliment, or just really, give us a thumbs up type of a deal, which then it's, those kudos and stuff help out quite a bit.
Yeah.
Because then it's like, wow.
I guess this really all is worth it.
Yeah, this person said this person said that. And then you tie it all together, because then when fans are saying it, and then industry people are saying it. So part of the deal on this, where I work with, is like dignity, not ego. So the ego is like, hey, I'm great at this. And the dignity is when somebody says, you know what, you guys, Bill, Dan, you guys are great at this. Because it comes from them. It's their assessment.
Oh, no one's ever said that to us.
Well,
I know I've never said it to him.
I was going to be the first to say it. I didn't mean it. Okay?
Once you can fake sincerity, you've got the rest of life now.
Oh, absolutely.
Bill, I love working with you. See, it just doesn't work.
No,
it
sounds trite.
Jingles, I don't believe you for a second. It just doesn't happen.
No.
But that coming through from people, and like when you guys come and say, because it's like, all right, you'll know stuff that I don't know. And when you're going, oh my God, this is making me come back to this. And then go, well, then that's what's coming out from you. And, then I go, okay, it's not me saying I'm great.
Yeah.
It's someone else going, oh, you guys are doing, doing really well.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. And then the effort and the time is way well spent.
Oh, amazingly so.
I have one set question for you.
Sure.
But
only one.
Only one. And actually it's a two-parter, so that way I can get two out of it.
Actually, it's a quad-parter.
Like a trivia question.
With a follow-up. For 50 points.
I'll give them both at the same time, so I really have to make you think. What is the
goodness.
funniest thing you have seen on set since you've been here? And what is the moment that you've had on the set?
Like an
Besides Roddenberry slamming into the doors yesterday, because that was hysterical.
Okay, so that was pretty funny. Oh gosh. Well, one of the funniest ones but I was involved in it. So if have you guys seen all the bloopers? For the episode?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, I know where you're going. Where you're going with it.
So there's a certain scene with McKenna and Sulu.
Yes.
So,
In the mirror episode.
Yeah. So just see that. I don't think I really need to go into detail about that one. But yeah, so that was pretty funny to be part of. I think there's always good little chuckles when like, yeah, the doors. It's like, you're going to bust your nose if that ain't open. And you got to be careful. And, you know, with people coming in and literally coming into the... Bang. That's pretty funny. Chuck Huber.
So you say his name, we immediately start laughing.
See, I call him the Bones.
He's told us.
Yes, he has
See,
told us that. Yep.
And capital B-O-N-Z. Capital
okay.
Z, the Bones. And, oh my God, that dude.
Is he an escaped mental patient?
He could be. I just don't ever allow him to have caffeinated anything. Because, man, whirling dervish. He is just on and on and on. And he's so funny. And I guess the bad thing about that is there are so many other funny, talented people that I mean, hey, yeah, we're going through, and then, you know, one quip happens or one little joke, and then it's like, okay, here comes the next 5 minutes. We ain't getting nothing on camera that's usable, but oh man, it's going to be funny. And then you check everyone's makeup because it's like, okay, are people starting to laugh and cry a little bit on the things? I love Chuck.
We do too. We do too.
God, he's amazing. And then, second part of your quad question was like an moment.
Part of the quad question. I'll get 2 more questions.
God.
No.
Oh, glad I went to the bathroom before this interview. Oh, maybe I didn't. Or right now.
No, I don't think you did. I don't.
Hold on, guys. Wait. Okay, I'm good.
Now it's awkward.
Like an scary or
Like,
bad or
that's going to piss somebody off moment, or is the director going to go through the roof in a second type thing?
I think the only thing that really is kind of happened on that is it has been like weather related. Because we have.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a metal roof. It's a 2.5-story building, but it's a metal roof.
Yep.
And you know, weather comes. And if there's a little bit of rain, that's fine.
Yeah.
But then when the rain comes down, we just have to stop for a while.
Yeah.
Which it happens,
Right.
and everybody's mood is good. It's like, well, okay.
Right.
I mean, what's the sense in wasting your energy being mad about something we can't possibly control?
Right.
And so that's really
That's good.
kind of been it,
That's
because
great.
everything is set, everything else is ready. I mean,
Vic has worked the train situation in very well in a couple bloopers.
he has, and we've really lucked out on that just because not too many trains coming by. But I would think just anytime we do stunts, so there was the stunt with Pilgrim with Kim flying over the rail, and it was like, oh, okay, hey, we're going to be doing that, and I mean we're practically doing it,
Right.
So, but we had all the safety stuff ready to go, and people there to catch her, and mattresses, and all this stuff. So it was like, and that goes back to planning, and everything is like, okay, so if we're going to do this, what are we going to do? And since we have Ruben Langdon with us, stunt coordinator, and he's worked with a ton of great people. And I believe he studied with Jackie Chan.
Oh, wow.
I could be wrong about this, but
We'll just say he did.
okay, so he studied with Jackie Chan. He went to elementary school with Jackie Chan.
So did Dan.
I thought that was Methuselah. But
I was going to compliment you there for a second.
Or whoever.
I am Brahms.
You're Leah Brahms.
there you go. There you go. But yeah, but Ruben and when we have stunts and stuff with Lou Ferrigno,
Right.
and Ruben's quarter, and Ruben's amazing and really knows what he's doing. So anything that could have been it's like, no, we plan through here. He's got credits and accomplishments and is very conscious of not only safety but everyone's abilities or level of abilities on that. So really, we just it's you know, it's like if you go in for a test and you studied for like 4 hours, and I mean, and you go, okay, and you go in and you go, 4 hours, and you go, wow, that test was tough. But then if you had studied for 4 weeks, you know, up to the test, and you go in and you fly and you go, that was nothing.
Yeah.
That was so easy. I was like, well, yeah, because it was the preparation.
Right.
And you gave it the respect that it deserves. So that's what we're doing here, so that when you get there, it isn't, we are not going to do crazy time.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And we don't. And it's like, if something is weather related, and okay, times get pushed back. But it's like, no, you take care of the body, and everybody's fresh and ready to go. And we are going to have, 10-hour days.
Yep.
And so that's what we prep for. And, we have the directors doing shot sheets beforehand.
Yep.
And previs and all of that. And, rehearsals, well, if stuff is getting lit, have the rehearsals.
Yep.
And go through. And having backups and redundancy ready to go, because something will go wrong.
Yep.
Right.
What, we don't know or when, but it's when that light blows out, it's like, okay,
Yep.
we've got the other light ready to go. We've got all that other stuff ready to go, and not a problem.
Yeah.
So that'll be good. So Bill, you get to ask a question now, since Dan.
I'll give you a few seconds to think, because I know it takes you a while to come up with these. Now, this is Casey. He has helped us all week. Be nice.
All week.
Well, it feels like a week because it's been so fun. So it's like a
It
vacation.
feels like 20 years whenever I travel. I was going to say, we're probably good to wrap up. We're at about 40 minutes.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
An episode we got a whole episode for you, man.
Whatever you want to do, my man.
No, I figured that, that's a good amount of content. We're probably cut it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
And intersperse, because it's almost becoming like a 1 or 2 part, like, sort of docu audio podcast. Of sorts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And
Fantastic.
because we figure that we're going to just tell the story of our visit, probably over, I would guess, a couple of episodes, so we can use the audio various places, and
Why not?
it works.
Okay.
If we get a chance, and this is only if it's available, it's nothing I would want to ask any special thing for. If there's a chance at some point today where the bridge is still lit, I would love it for us, for the album, one of the album covers, to have you in the captain's chair and us standing on the
Sure.
other side of you. That would be awesome. We
Okay.
can be making faces at you. You can be making faces
different
at us.
faces than the ones you have right now.
I'm always,
maybe
trying, to think,
not.
I'm always trying
Wow.
to think of what would be good album
What
cover.
face?
Bill's giving me that face.
I don't have a face. There's no face. Casey's high.
Wow. Thank God this is audio only.
That's for a variety of reasons, quite honestly.
In all seriousness, it has been an unbelievable honor and privilege for you guys to invite us into this special place. I said to Vic last night, and I said to, I think I was talking to Kat as well, in all seriousness, this is probably one of the top 3 days of my life that I can remember.
Oh,
Married, being the first one.
You don't even know what the second one is.
No, I don't know how to put it. I was going to compliment you about, but that's not on the top. But it's right up there. I can't think. As we said this to you actually yesterday. If we were only able to be here for an hour yesterday, we would have been as happy as could be. But,
there you go.
But for everything that has happened, it has been something that we will not forget ever, and it has been an amazing experience.
Well, right on. I mean, our pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for being here.
The really cool thing about that entire conversation, Dan, is that you can literally hear the formation of a friendship right in that moment. And that 100% is why that audio will always truly be special to me, man.
Yeah, when we were sitting down to talk to him and we would trade off on questions, before it started, I'm like, okay, new person, doesn't know our style, because even during the interview, we're giving each other crap like we always do, because that's just the way we are. He fit right into it. And as the conversation went on, I'm like, I'm not going to have any problem asking this guy anything, because he's so laid back and cool. Having the responsibility that he has on that production, and to still be as laid back and honest and nonchalant about stuff the way he was with us, really showed what a stand up and stand out individual this guy is. And he's fantastic. And we're not just blowing smoke. I mean, we really mean it. He's someone who we have stayed in contact since that trip. And we look forward to seeing him in Vegas every year. And when we do, we always have a great time.
It's the kind of thing where we don't see him enough. I literally hear from him every day. And I'm always glad to. We have a great time even just talking through chat. But he generally is And when I think of all the things that happened during that weekend, knowing that we've gained a brother for life is the kind of thing that really makes everything even better, quite honestly.
Absolutely.
So the worst part about this trip, Dan, was that we'd have to leave, and we knew it all day long, and that time came a lot quicker than we thought it would.
Yeah, it really did. And one of the things I remember the most is we talked a little while ago about walking the corridors before filming had resumed with lunch, and it was dark. But one of the things that really stood out to me is when we were there for day one and we were on the bridge and Vic was there and he yelled up into the ceiling, light it up or something like that. And all the power on the bridge came on. It was awesome. Later on day two, when we were getting ready to leave, you and I went to the bridge and nobody was around. And everything was turned off. No lights, no panels, no spotlights, nothing. It was just an empty, dead set. And I stood in the back at the turbolift doors and just looked out across everything. And I started crying because it was like, I don't want to leave this place. Yeah. And it was really hard. I mean, we all... we knew we were leaving, but we also knew that, like, I guess in the nexus from Star Trek Generations, part of us is always going to remain there, man. We'd always feel a tie to this company and to these sets. As happy as we were to get home to our families and our wives and our puppies, we really were sad that we would probably never experience this again. And sadly, it seems that no one else will anymore either, I'm afraid.
Today, the care and feeding of those sets belongs to a different group of people. In February of 2018, a new ownership group took control of the sets and branded them as Stage 9 Studios, and they made them available for fan films, later rebranding the space as Neutral Zone Studios after they received a cease and desist from a company called Stage 9. These days, Neutral Zone is morphing into Galactic Adventures. Now, the plan was to move the sets to Orlando, Florida to open a sci-fi themed escape room attraction. While the bridge would have still remained intact, the rest of the sets would have been carved up to make the attraction. Since they didn't have a license from CBS to do anything Star Trek related, they kind of had to make things more generic. So it was going to be a sci-fi escape room and not a Star Trek escape room. They had started crowdfunding and hoped to raise a minimum of $100,000, but the response was incredibly lackluster, seeing potential investors pledge just over $25,000.
Wow. Now, as for Star Trek Continues, they finished their shortened run of 11 episodes in November of 2017. All of these episodes remain 100% free to view either on the Star Trek Continues website or on YouTube. Much like the cast and crew of the original series, they have all moved on to other projects and back to their normal, everyday lives. While we can only hope that this amazing group of creative people can do another project together someday, we're always going to consider them part of our Trek family and remain in awe of the literal perfection that they created in continuing the 5-year mission of the original series.
So we offer our sincere thanks to Wyatt Lenhart, Grant Imahara, and to our dear, dear friends, James Kerman and Casey Shafsky, and the entire cast and crew of Star Trek Continues. And we sincerely apologize to them for taking so long to tell the second half of this story, their story, because it was one that was absolutely worth telling. Dan, another story absolutely worth telling is, speaking of another 5-year mission, the band 5-year mission. How do you like them?
You did that.
Apples.
That's some good apples, man.
I like apples.
Apples are yummy.
They're writing one song for each episode of the original Star Trek. Yeah, year 5. They got to be starting to talk about it now. They get year 1 through 4 out. They got Spock's Brain, Trouble with Tribbles. But they are every last bit of music you hear on the Trek Geeks podcast and across the Trek Geeks podcast network, honestly, where they themselves have the eponymously named 5-year mission, the podcast.
Wow, that's awesome. Whoever wrote that one gives them an Oscar or an Emmy or a Tony or something. Some kind of award.
Maybe just a martini. So head on out to 5yearmission.net. Please get all their albums shipped to you on CD. Get that physical media in your hands and just become huge fans of the band as we are ourselves. It's 5yearmission.net.
Hey, Bill.
Yeah.
You remember the episode Mirror, Mirror, don't you? The original series?
No, tell me about it.
It's fantastic. I don't want to tell you about that one. You should know it. If you're a real Star Trek fan, you know it, but whatever. It's funny that we're talking about this right now, about Star Trek Continues, because they did a Star Trek Continues episode, and it picks up right where Mirror Mirror left off. Spock plans to rebel against the Empire in a quest for better music, but first he has to plot against Kirk to take control of the Enterprise. Scary stuff, man. Will he be able to convince the entire band to join his rebellion? Or will he face the murderous captain on his own? Check it out. It's free on YouTube and on Star Trek Continues. It's the Mirror Universe in all its glory. Farkest of them all. Wow.
That episode does not exist on the Star Trek Continues website.
It does not exist on the Star Trek Continues website or on YouTube.
Yeah.
It's all in this little space right here, baby. But it was really good, nonetheless.
That's an incredibly small space in that cranium of yours that comes up with these things each and every week.
And it will continue to do so.
Oh, great. Yeah, we want to remind everyone listening that you can support the Trek Geeks Podcast Network via Patreon. There you can see the new designs for both our annual supporters pin and our annual t-shirt for 2020, as well as get unedited audio of all of our podcasts, along with some additional perks there, Dan.
Absolutely, but right now we want to take a moment to thank our associate producers for Trek Geeks. We are so grateful for their support. So thank you, Adam Sanders, Brandon Everidge, Heather Sohn, John Krikorian, Rick Tatro, Trey Womack, Sean Lynn, Tim Robertson, Tim Serdar, Vikram Bhatt, Greg Rozier, Andy Fark, Kimberly Francis, Ron Robel, Brooke Horton, Christina Werther, Jim McMahon, Luke Burnham, Eric Sakian, Lisa Tomlinson, Jamie McGregor, William Edward M. Jr., and the gracious and wonderful Conrad Hutchins.
Wow. That's very gracious and very wonderful.
Yes, thank you.
We also want to thank our Trek Geeks producers for their support. They are Ken Tripp, some guy named Casey Shafsky, Charlie Mulvey, Chris Trabuzio, Eric Extreme, Craig Ewing, Jackie and Chris Hackney, Leonel Marchand, Matt McGonigal, Mike Bovia, Sean O'Halloran, Peter Craig, Ken Bird, Jamie Rogers, David Hood, Rachel Delaney, Kyle Castillo, Chaz Bradshaw, and the lovely and talented Jess Vashon.
You too can become a producer on the Trek Geeks Network, and it is so easy to do. Just head on over to patreon.com/TrekGeeks for all the details.
Dan, next week, we're going to continue our year-long celebration of Voyager 25 with a deep dive into an episode that we just discussed a couple of weeks ago in Season 3, See It or Skip It, with Ali Martinez.
Yeah, we sure did, man. And if memory serves, all three of us gave it a thumbs up. See it. Go watch it. After Janeway's apparent death, she's greeted by her father to guide her through the afterlife. Or is she, Bill? Dun, dun, dun. Sorry. So in just 7 days, we're going to tackle an interesting episode with some really great character moments. It's Coda. Next week on Trek Geeks, the flagship of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network.
Of course, for more great Star Trek discussion, please check out our other member podcasts of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network. You can find them all, including where to listen, by visiting trekgeeks.com/listen. And of course, for all the news on all the Star Trek CO, please visit our great friends at treknews.net. For now, this has been episode number 220 of the Trek Geeks Podcast. We do hope you all live long and prosper.
Look at this coconut. So filled with inspiration. I can't sing it because, so I just figured I'd say it.
Are coconuts filled with inspiration?
They are. Oh.
I would submit not until you add the rum.
Is it? It's like Schrodinger's cat. You really don't know if it's filled with inspiration until you open it.
I'm willing to bet it's not until the rum hits it.
Music for Trek Geeks is provided by 5 Year Mission. They are writing one song for each episode of the original series. Download their music at 5yearmission.net. Trek Geeks, a Star Trek podcast, is a production of Coconut Media Works, executive producer Bill Smith. For even more Star Trek discussion, check out Discovering Trek, a Star Trek Discovery companion, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and discoveringtrek.com.
Bing bong.
Bing bong, baby.
Welcome back.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How was your holiday weekend?
It was awesome.
Yeah.
Weather was great. We actually got to go visit the sister and brother-in-law and did some social distancing out on the deck. because they expanded their deck to almost twice the size it was before. So,
oh wow,
it was pretty awesome. Yeah, the weather was really great. The dogs loved it. They liked seeing Lily, and it was good. Very good. How about you? Did you do anything fun?
I didn't do anything, which was awesome.
That can be fun.
I loved it.
Well, so there you go.
This past weekend, I tried Xbox a little, and here's the thing.
Oh boy, here we go.
I love the fact that you can just pay for a game through your gaming console and download it, but it takes. I have high speed internet. I mean, my internet is blazing fast.
Yeah,
it took an hour to download the game. I'm like, guys, this didn't happen when I had to put the disc in.
Yep. Exactly.
I could start playing and it would download stuff in the background.
Yep.
But I didn't have to wait for all of this crap to happen.
Yeah.
It's just downloadable content makes me want to gouge my eyes out.
Is it the Jedi game?
No, I actually
Oh boy. Yeah.
Well, you remember a couple of weeks ago we talked with Alexander Siddig.
Yes.
He's been playing the Division 2 for Tom Clancy game. And it was $9.99 in the Xbox store this weekend. So I said, the game's over a year old. I got to do that.
You got to hook up with Sid and go kill some bad guys?
Well, it's the thing. I didn't get a chance to play.
Well, that's right. It's still downloading probably right now.
It took forever to download the damn game.
Wow. That's funny.
But I did let Sid City know that I was downloading it, and it absolutely was Sid's fault.
Very nice. Did you see that he had a family reunion on Sid City last week?
I did.
That was great. Nana and Django and himself. That must have been a lot of fun. I haven't watched it yet. I'm going to have to check it out. That's pretty cool.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
It's interesting that the technology can unite us like that. I mean, I think we've taken it for granted. I mean, you and I have been doing these types of things for 5 years now.
Yep.
When you lived in Maine and when you live, here in New Hampshire, we get on a conference and we record it, and we do this every single week. And it's fascinating to see how people are responding to it all over the world.
As I got to say, selfishly, I've taken advantage of it also, and I had a family reunion of sorts when before we had gone and visited my sister and brother-in-law. We'll do a meeting with Donna and Chris, and then we also pulled in my parents who were down in Florida still one weekend for a couple of hours, and my brother jumped on, and my niece. It was awesome, and it's like, okay, we don't do this when we're together. And here we are, all of us now, unless it's Christmas or Thanksgiving. And it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah.
So,
well, good.
Yeah, I'm glad that you got the chance to do that. That's fantastic.
Yeah, well, you're fantastic, Bill.
Your face is fantastic.
Wow. Wow.
Daniel.
Uh-oh.
We're going to talk to Jonathan Frakes.
And you know what? It's all you, baby. This is all you again. Just like Sid. You're taking over my job. I'm feeling pretty, like I'm useless around here. And I know that I am, but now I'm feeling it. So
it's glad that the feelings finally caught up to you.
Oh my God, this is going to be so great.
So here's how that went down.
Okay.
Initially, I went to CBS and I asked for permission to speak with Anson Mount or Ethan Peck or Rebecca Romaine for a charity live stream. Since Strange New Worlds was just announced, I figured the timing would be great. People are still very high about this series, very positive. I figured it would be great, especially knowing what Star Trek means to people.
Right.
And they came back and said, nope, sorry, can't do it. I said, well, can you do anything for us? Is there anyone you can give us from Discovery? And we heard literally nothing back. So at that point, I contacted an online friend who I've known for a couple of years. Great guy. He does some writing. And I asked if there was any way he could get me Jonathan Frakes' contact info. Because Frakes was, if we weren't going to do something topical or current,
Yeah.
I thought of, well, who from the next gen would we want to get? I immediately thought of Frakes, and so I took a chance. We got Frakes' agent info within the hour.
Awesome. Wow.
After he chatted with Jonathan. And when I emailed the agent the next day, we heard back within an hour that Jonathan would love to do the live stream and help us out.
Wow.
All based on the fact that we're raising money for Feeding America and the money's going solely to them. We don't ever see it. And we just want to try to do some good and feed some people who could use it.
I want to like when we like welcome him, I want to kind of like stroll in. I wish I had like a wireless, and I'd like do a Riker sit down in my chair like he used to do, and be like, "Hey, Jonathan, what's up?"
With your luck, you'd mess it up and go ass over tea kettle, as my mom would say.
Hit the microphone, it breaks on the floor, the monitor cracks, and then I can't be part of the fun.
I always see your feet sticking up, and we hear this.
Ow. Ow. Honey. Ow. Yeah. I can't, this is so strange. Of course, Star Trek is the thing with him, and I can't wait to talk to him about it. But you know what I'm looking forward to talking to him about the most right now?
I do, based on our conversation.
I can't wait to talk to him about North and South. and his wife, Jeannie, because I love Jeannie Francis. I used to watch General Hospital back in the Laura days.
Let's be honest, we really care about Jeannie, so why don't we get her on instead?
Jonathan, can you just bring her over to the camera so I can say hi? Thanks, pal.
Can you just pan right?
Go take a bathroom break or something. We'll be fine. Get some more gum.
Frakes is also a Red Sox fan.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. He likes New England.
Yeah, he does. Although I think he's been a Red Sox fan for quite a long time.
Well, he's a smart man too. Then
he's not if he's coming on our show.
Well, that's all you, baby. So if he's I'm not going to call him stupid. I was going to say. So if he's stupid, it's your fault. But that doesn't sound right. So I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying. That never changes, right?
Never once.
And that's what makes the show so fun.
You're into admitting a whole bunch of stuff this week that I'm just not used to. I'm not prepared for this.
Well,
you're essentially admitting to everybody you suck.
I've known that for years.
Dude, the rest of us have known it for a lot longer.
I understand that, but you know what? The first step to getting back on track is to admit everything. So yeah,
don't think that's quite how that goes, but let's let you live in that delusion.
Hey, if that helps me get back on track and right the ship and all that crap, then okay. No. No.
You're not right.
You'd be nothing without me.
I can just see it. Someday you're going to put your consciousness into an android body and become the egotist, sort of self-loving Ira Graves type, and somebody's not going to be able to wait to beam you into space, and I hope it's me.
Okay. I got to say, you know what? With all my flaws, and I'm dumb and ugly and everything
you are.
like that. Yeah.
You're all those things.
Who else on the planet Earth would make you laugh at 1 a.m. by breaking out into Aaron Neville in a hotel room? Right? Am I right? I'm right.
At that point, I kind of felt like a torture victim. I felt like there was some Stockholm syndrome setting in. I had to laugh because it was the only way I was going to get you to shut up. But the best part is it was like pitch dark for an hour. You're over there on your iPad. I'm trying to go to sleep. You turn off the iPad. You put on the white noise. You lay back. It's silent with the exception of the fan noise. And the next thing I hear is, look at this man.
And you just start cracking up. It's not even like I pissed you off. You just start laughing.
I knew it was coming. I just didn't know when. I thought I was safe when I rolled over to go to sleep. No, I had tears in my eyes, the whole nine, because essentially when we do sleepaway camp, we're 12.
And you know what? That's the best part. I said that to my wife yesterday, I think. What's today? Monday?
I think.
Yes. So yesterday we were on our drive with the dogs, and we were talking about something, and I just started laughing because I laugh at my own stupid jokes, because that's what life is all about.
Yep.
And I look at her and I go, you know what? 50-year-old body, I'm always going to be 12 in here, baby.
Yeah, that's about what it is.
Yeah.
It's, I'm proud to be 12.
Yes.
I think I'm having a better 12-year-old as an adult than
the real 12.
Than I was at 12,
I'll drink
to be honest.
I'm going to do that right now.
Yeah, I'm drinking water to that.
So am I. I've got water. All right. Anyway.
All right. Well, yeah. So June 11th, 8:30 p.m. live on YouTube and Facebook simultaneously. Our conversation with Jonathan Frakes to benefit Feeding America. Go to trekgeeks.com/donate for more information and to donate.
What am I going to wear?
Nothing. We're nothing.
Okay.
I dare you. I double dog dare you.
No, I will not do that to Jonathan. I don't want him to laugh at me.
Commander Riker, it's too soon for this. Because that's what I want to be able to say.
I'm going to walk in. I'm going to sit down naked. He's going to go, shields up.
It's kind of like, Chief, get me out of here.
Wow.